It's time for TWiT This Week in Tech. It's a very special episode this week, our 1000th episode. Yeah, we've been doing this for almost 20 years, and I thought it'd be fun to bring back the original hosts of that very first episode. Stay tuned. Kevin Rose, Patrick Norton, David Prager, Robert Heron, and Roger Chang join us for a very special TWiT.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 1000, recorded Sunday, October 6th, 2024, the reunion episode. It's time for TWiT This Week in Tech, the show where we cover the week's tech news, except this week is a little bit different. I don't know if we're going to get to tech news this week because this is our 1000th episode of TWiT. And I thought we'd bring back the gang, the old gang that was here for episode 1 and the first few episodes. Patrick Norton, been with us since the very beginning. It's great to see you, Patrick, in St. Louis now.
St. Louis, Missouri, yes.
Nice to see you. Everybody always asks me, where's Patrick? Where's Patrick?
Somewhere in the Midwest.
He got in a motorhome and drove until he ran out of gas, and that's where he ended up.
We took an Airstream, traded for a year-round quality RV, and we're doing a massive tour around the country right up until COVID hit. And then,
that's what
turns out a 30-foot RV seems really small when all of the museums, national parks, libraries, restaurants, and everything else is closed.
What a bummer. But you had a good time up to that point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So nice to see my old friend from TechTV, co-host on the Screensavers, and yes, one of the hosts on not only episode 1, but episode 0, you and Mrs. Norton. Sarah was on episode 0, the one we did from the brew pub. Robert Heron is also here. He was on episode 1, I think episode 0 as well, heronfidelity.com. Hi, Robert.
Hello, hello. I believe I still have the original audio files that we recorded for that episode.
You don't have to really save them because it's at twit.tv/twit1. But
awesome. Good to know.
All the shows are there. 1,000 shows. Can you believe it's been almost 20 years?
Well, the 25th /30th anniversary
of TechTV?
TechTV.
Yep.
Picnic is coming up. And
are we going to have a picnic again?
In the park.
I didn't get invited, so I'll have to ask you for the details. It's a nice hot day in San Francisco. Be a good day to do that. Also here, Roger Chang, who was a regular on many of the early episodes. And of course, another Tech TV lab rat like Robert. It's good to see you, Roger.
It's good to be here.
You worked on Call for Help with me. And then, of course, now you're on the Daily Tech News Show every single day, Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday.
With Tom and company, and that's awesome. That's awesome. So is that your job as podcaster?
I executive produce, but I'm also the booker. So I'm aligning guests with the show, as well as planning out content and special weeks and all sorts of fun stuff.
So great to see you. And finally, David Prager is also here. Prager, producer on the Screensavers. You heard his name all the time in vain. And he's been very busy. In fact, all of you guys have been very busy. What are you up to these days, David?
Well, right now,
you're retired, aren't you?
No,
you're retired. Admit it.
No, not retired. I didn't. I took a full-time job, my first W-2 job in over 10 years. I'm building out video strategy for marketing for a company called Automattic.
Nice. I know Automattic.
Oh yeah.
Matt Mullenweg. He's been in the news lately. I won't ask you about WP Engine or anything.
There's a lot of drama. I could if you feel like it.
Did you? You didn't take the buyout?
No. I'm actually really excited to be there. There's a huge opportunity. Good. Everyone talks about WordPress is 43% of all websites, and I believe that's fairly accurate. Now, Automattic, of course, is a small percent, a very, very small percentage of that, but it's also, the open source project, which Matt started or co-founded is the behemoth. And so obviously they're having some issues mostly around copyright. Around trademarking. And, it's turned into a public spat. And it's been very difficult, I think, for him because it looks like, Matt Mullenweg is being the greedy bully But at the same time, what you've really got is you've got a WP Engine. It's a company owned by a large private equity firm.
By real greedy bullies. Yeah.
They are, to be honest with you. And so I kind of feel bad about how Automattic's been thrown a little under the bus. Now, some of the posturing might not have been the best way it originally started, but after many months of saying you guys needed to contribute to the project, which is not legally required, but they've also, using the trademark. So Matt and some of the folks on the executive team said, look, we need to tell these guys to stop taking advantage of us, stop taking advantage of the project. And that's how we got to where we are today. And so as things come out, WP Engine felt bad enough that they wanted to file a lawsuit for everything from slander to libel to extortion. And I think, when things shake out and you really look at what's being fought over and what open source means writ large outside of even just what WordPress is, we're fighting the good fight is what I think. And so, and again, speaking of the buyout, it was a generous offer. I think a lot of it was talking about alignment and whether or not, the speak amongst the employees was, if you disagree, that's fine. You have every right to disagree. If you don't believe in what Automattic is and you want to hurt Automattic or you want to leak things from Automattic, then obviously there's no place for you at Automattic. And so they created this buyout offer. And my gut tells me also that, some people were not aligned. And I think some people are, had been there for a long time, thinking about other jobs, thinking about even retirement. And when you give someone an offer like that, it makes you think about where you are in your career, what you're doing, where you want to go. And if you're thinking about leaving, regardless of what necessarily the reasons were even before the WP Engine thing came out, I think it was an easy way for 8% of the company to take that offer and make that decision. So if anything, I think from Matt's perspective, not to speak for him, but I think we're kind of re-energized in seeing that we've got over 90% of the company that is really excited to be there. I'm fairly new there. I see our opportunity as extensive. I'm having a really good time with it. So it didn't cross my mind at all. But it's interesting times because this past week almost felt, almost like a layoff, but it wasn't. So, you've got colleagues.
It was a huge percentage. It was a lot of
8%. Yeah, about 160, almost 160.
That's a
people
big deal.
About 2,000. Yeah, it was a big deal. But it's also nice to know that everyone that left did so voluntarily. And what I've been impressed with is the remarks that people made on, we have our own intranet and different internal discussion groups, and the kindness that came out of colleagues for each other for a fully distributed company was pretty impressive. How many times people have gotten together? They do a lot of meetups, so every team meets up one or more times a year. Every division meets up one or more times a year. So it was fun to see how much camaraderie there was and how much respect there was amongst those staying and amongst those leaving. So I kind of feel really proud to be at an organization like that amongst all the strife. And it's a kind of a mess because, WordPress is, it's, above the fold in mainstream tech news right now. And it's not, I'm kind of hoping it's less about even WordPress, but more about what open source is.
Oh, people love drama. Excuse me, but people love drama, and it's BS. And I know Matt. I've known Matt since the early days of WordPress. I was an early user. They were a sponsor on our shows for many years. I've interviewed Matt many times. He's a good man and is a real supporter of open source.
Yeah, he's great. I even ended up at the company because I used to do, after Revision 3 left, I started doing marketing and promotions videos for startups because I fell in love with startups and I fell in love with entrepreneurship. And so I would just do, launch videos and promo videos for various startups. And Automattic is ironically still a startup. So I would do projects for Automattic every now and then.
Nice.
And so we just had a conversation after running past each other kind of socially and started talking about what they were doing and what the marketplace was looking like and what their competition was doing and, where they were doing well and where they were doing wrong. And there was a lot that they weren't doing. Not marketing in general, but just like how are they leveraging video assets, which is I'm pretty good at. So he just talked me into joining the team, and I had just had a daughter, and I hadn't had any like.
You have a 2-year-old.
I do, yeah. Her name's Amelia. She just turned 2. Aww. Yeah. So when I saw the benefits package, which is actually quite good, and I haven't had a benefits package since the last time I was full-time employed by an employer, and I was like, all right, I think I'll do this, and I've still got side projects and he was like, you could still, do those. So it was kind of an easy opportunity to take. So I'm excited.
Benito, show the whole group here because this is a pretty special group of people for our 1000th episode. TWiT has gone through a lot of iterations and generations. It's almost 20 years and lots of different people have come and gone and so forth. But these were the cats that started. There's one face missing, though. Anybody who listened to our early episodes will say, hey, where's Kevin Rose? And Kevin couldn't be here, but he did send us this greeting.
Hey, Leo, Kevin Rose here. Just wanted to say a huge congratulations. Really bummed I can't be there for episode number 1000. I'm actually going to be in London during the recording. Otherwise, I would 100% be there. I remember going up for episode number 1. We were shooting in some little tiny cubby kind of back office thing on the ground. And that was just the beginning of watching you embark upon this amazing journey to create all this great content over the years. And, you know, I think back at that time, and obviously with TechTV moving to Los Angeles and all the other things you could have done in media, the fact that you chose to take the entrepreneurial path was just really inspiring. And I just want to say thank you for doing that. Thank you for going independent, for building the media empire that you have today, and for entertaining and informing all of us over many, many years and many, many episodes. So a couple quick reminders, though. When we started this episode, or we started this podcast, the iPhone didn't exist. Bitcoin was not invented. Social media and Facebook was 1 year old, and it was college only at that time. Twitter did not exist. Windows XP was the dominant OS, and YouTube had just been founded in February of 2005. It's crazy what has happened and what we've witnessed, what has changed over the years. Netflix was also a mail-in service at that time, so it was mail-in only. There was no online streaming of Netflix. And lastly, the fastest processor at that time was an Intel Pentium 4, and it went up to 3.8 gigahertz, which oddly doesn't seem far off from where they are today, but maybe that explains some of the problems. Anyway, enough about that. Just a fun little trip down memory lane and all the stuff that you've seen over your career. And a huge thank you for giving me my first opportunity when I first got started on TechTV. By the grace of yourself and Paul Block allowing me to do that first segment, it really kicked off my career, and I'm forever grateful for that. So I love you. Wishing you many more great episodes and health. And I don't know how you're not aging, but it is crazy to me.
I
need some skincare tips as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin. It's great to see all of you. Just such great memories. All of us were at TechTV. I think that's how this all got started, is we worked at TechTV, which started in 1998. And I guess the picnic is for it would be the 25th anniversary. Is that right? Wow. That's
I think, do you remember David Yount? He was the studio director, or the floor director. And he
had a voice like this.
He did. And he would call it the Speedway Soiree. Remember they would do this every once in a while?
David,
so this is that, I think. And him and Marcus Buick putting it together.
I love Marcus. Marcus was the sound guy, great sound guy.
Yeah.
When is that going to be?
Next Saturday.
Well, I guess I better find my invitation.
It's. I think it was just an open invite, as long as you're on the TechTV.
Here's the problem: it's Facebook, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's on Facebook.
It's on.
No, it's on. It's you've heard the startup. It's called. It's all text based. It's called. What is it called?
Blue Sky.
No.
Threads.
It's a text based. It's a text based event app called Partyful.
Great. I never heard of that. Partyful. Okay.
Yeah, Partyful. And it's actually quite good because it's just all text. You get a text message. You can use the app if you want, and then just all the
Patrick, you should fly out for this next Saturday. Come on out. We'll go to the Speedway. No, he doesn't. It's not going to happen, huh? All right. Anyway, it's great to see all of you. 1,000 episodes at roughly 52 a year is almost 20 years. Kevin, actually, I'm glad he put that list together because I was thinking of doing it and didn't get around to it. But a lot has changed, but a lot has changed in your lives too. So I'd like to kind of catch up a little bit with each of you to see what you've been up to. Patrick, the last I saw of you, you were driving off in an Airstream. It was that 2018, 2019?
2019. Yeah.
You and your wife,
California.
Sarah, and your two children. One child? I can't remember now.
Two.
Two. That's what I thought. Okay.
And
who are your two kids, and how old are they?
Seamus
is 17.
17, and Tristan is 12.
Wow. So you got teenagers.
How
is that going for you?
It's a teenager. You remember how much you enjoyed raising teenagers. It's good. Tristan's in seventh grade, which is mind blowing. He's going to a school here in St. Louis. Seamus is still homeschooled, and they're kids.
Nice.
It was fun. Like the full-time RVing thing was great right up until COVID hit, and full-time RVing is a lot less fun when all the national parks, museums, parks, restaurants, libraries, and everything else is closed. But,
did you plan on landing somewhere, or were you just going to drive forever?
So remember 2008 when the economy collapsed the last time?
Yeah.
So we had a list. We put together a list. The place where many of us were working at that point, like they were going to run out of money. That's when we bought the Airstream originally. I had a list of Sarah and I put together like 50 places we wanted to see, like potential towns and cities to live on, national parks we hadn't seen. Then the company got more money and kept going till it was bought by Discovery. Revision 3 kept going until it was bought by Discovery. And then 2019, we still had the Airstream in this list when it was time to leave California. So we had this massive road trip, that we basically went across. We had to establish domicile in San Diego, spent time in South Dakota. Full-time RVing is kind of fascinating, totally boring subject.
Well, especially with a family. I mean,
right.
that's a.
Well, it was great, right? Because we got to see.
That.
Well, it depends on the family. Also, we were just like going from national park to national park.
Yeah, that's cool.
Spent a couple of weeks with family in Denver, did a bunch of time in southeastern Colorado at the Great Sand Dunes and the San Luis Valley. Came out to see St. Louis, and then COVID hit. And, we had this huge, we're going to come back through all of our favorite national parks in southern Utah to go to Zion and Bryce, and then up through, I still haven't seen Joshua Tree in Southern California.
Oh, wow.
We had all this list of places to hit all the way back through California and Oregon and back out through Montana. And then COVID just shut everything down.
Oh.
So we got a house in St. Louis and been here ever since.
So the company you're talking about, of course, is Revision 3, the company that Kevin and Prager started, right? Was it you and Kevin? Were you the two principals?
Well, there were actually five. Well, it was Kevin, and in a weird way, it was Kevin and Dan Heward who were doing that system show.
Yeah, they did
like
system.
How to hack your Xbox.
By the way, which we talked about on the first episode of TWiT was system. Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah, and then Jay Adelson got involved. You know him, I think.
Sure.
And he started Equinix, which is
he's an entrepreneur, so he knew how to raise money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he said, "Hey, because we at TechTV we did a field like a little field segment about how data centers work." And
right.
Jay was
at
the guy who was interviewed. Yeah. And so he became friends with Kevin and saw that Kevin and Dan were doing this system show, which is kind of like a less another version of The Broken. It wasn't quite as The Broken, I guess. Kind of an adultish, even though it wasn't as much as how to explode your hard drive when the feds come, and more about how to hack your Xbox instead.
It was probably the first DIY show that streamed online.
Yeah, it was cool. But
Jay,
Jay came in and said, "Hey, how about I give you $50,000? You quit your job." And so then they created some positions, and then there's a guy named Ron Gordetsky who was their first kind of like systems guy, and Keith Harrison, who's at the time he was shooting
Keith,
and editing. Yeah, he was shooting and editing. Yeah, he was the technical director at TechTV, but he was shooting and editing The Broken. And then they wanted someone to kind of do some biz dev and some more production work. And so Kevin asked if I would come join. And so we were kind of the founding team at that point. So I quit my job at G4. I think the first job at Revision 3, I think my salary was like $40,000. and then we built a little empire of sorts.
You did really well. Dignation was the thing that really put it on the map, right?
It did, because it was so easy. I mean, it was easy in a weird way. Like this show in a weird way is easy. It's like you find some tech stories with some good personalities and you talk about it. And that's what they did. They might have fueled.
They brought it back. Have you seen the new one?
They did. Yeah, I went down there and helped them tape the first one, or participated in, I should say. And then I'm not sure the entire motivation, but I think he just wanted to, after getting out of his NFT stint, I'll call it that.
The owls.
Yeah. He wanted to get back into media because he's always been a media guy, even though
that's his real love. He was an entrepreneur, and he always said, I like making apps. Kevin, we're talking Kevin Rose. I like making apps. I like helping people make apps. But you know what? He liked being a broadcaster. That's what he really liked doing, didn't he?
I think so. Although, I mean, he's a good operator. He's a good operator.
Oh, yeah. He knows how to do startups.
Ideas, even Pounce. Remember Pounce? That could have been Twitter, but it wasn't, and I would even say Revision 3, I mean, Dignation helped float it for a while, but I mean, we were almost too early, and even the timing could have been weird. I mean, we did well.
Revision 3, and what did you do for Revision 3, Patrick? You were doing...
I was the proof of concept that Dignation wasn't a fluke and other shows could make money.
Aha. And what was the name of that show?
That would be TechZilla. I took over
TechZilla, that's right.
Basically running System and TechZilla and TechZilla Daily and helped out with some other stuff.
And then Revision 3 eventually got sold to Discovery. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't a big exit or anything. People just kind of got out.
Well, at that point...
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, after the economy crashed, I think any exit that didn't involve crashing and burning and getting a chair instead of a final paycheck was a solid exit. But
Discovery's buyout was a very, and I'll say this in a very diplomatic way, it was a very unique liminal space between what Revision 3 was and what it was, marrying into a large media conglomerate that had different ideas of how.
Did you stay with it, Roger, after they bought it?
I stayed on for a little bit, and then we decided to part ways.
Yeah. It was the media landscape has changed a lot in the last 20 years, and that was just one of many waves, right?
I mean,
look at what Discovery is now. They're huge.
But you know what? They're still swimming. They're still swimming in some of the same kind of organizational systems, I think, that Patrick and I encountered when
You're being very diplomatic. Rob.
Yes, so I live in an industry town. I definitely don't want to cut off my noses,
but we can read between the lines.
I live in St. Louis, so I can probably say anything at this point. But I'm on the marketing side of the fence, working for somebody that doesn't make media. But Discovery bought Revision 3 because they were fascinated that anybody could make money on the web, and they didn't get that. And there were some really hysterical moments. One of my favorites, and I know Robert and Prager and Roger, if you're watching the video, watch their faces as I say this, because we got pulled out to this dog and pony show at headquarters at Discovery, and the super senior executive vice president-y kind of person who is part of acquiring us was discussing, like, they make content for 100th of what we do per hour. And I'm like, my hand goes up, and he's like, Patrick, I'm like, it's actually 1,000th. And he's like, and they're free, and they're like, you're explaining that we make content for much less money and at a much higher frequency. And I remember being like, look, we have to do 52 shows a year minimum, or we disappear. And I'm watching, you can tell all the producers in this audience of about 600 people, because the producers are all going their heads are going back and forth. No.
I'm like, don't tell him that. Why are you telling him that for?
And YouTube was around at this point, but nobody knew what was going to happen.
Nobody economy did not exist.
Yeah, So nobody really. But it's interesting because they had a sense that what was going on at Revision 3 was kind of the beginning of something. So that actually showed some intelligence on their part.
But there was so much internal friction, and there was
it's not a good match when you get a big cable network.
But it was also funny because we were like, they were like, well, how do you make money? It's like, well, our hosts do, host branded ads. And they're like, that doesn't scale. And we're like, you've heard of like Howard Stern? And we started rattling off people and industries. And they're like, it's never going to work. And we're like, uh-oh.
Is right.
Well,
because guess who decides whether it works or not? They do.
David Zaslav.
Yes,
David Zaslav.
Here, let me give you a one story that sort of succinctly ties together what Patrick has been saying and what I've only been intimating. So we had the opportunity to have the guys from MythBusters, Jamie and I'm always spacing on his name. who's the other guy from Adam on? I got contacted directly. It's like, hey, would you like to have him on there? It's part of this kind of a sponsorship that they're doing with a Gillette on our show. I was like, hey, that's great. We're all part of the same family. It should go perfectly well. Nope. I literally asked everyone in the office, like, hey, you cool with this? This is okay. You cool with this? I asked Jim, I asked head of sales, and Brad Murphy, and they're like, yeah, no problem. This should be perfect. Soon as I tried to schedule it, I got a call from Discovery headquarters about some issues, and I needed to talk to the producer of Mythbusters in order to kind of assuage any kind of concerns he might have of us doing something with Jamie and Adam. And it was weird because it took almost 4 days of back and forth phone calls to kind of like, and I was like, this is the weirdest thing I have ever experienced. And I remember Jim walked by. It's like, if they didn't buy us, this would have never been an issue. It's like, yeah,
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Jim, you're talking about is Jim Ladderback,
Jim Ladderback,
who became CEO of VidCon. I think he's still at VidCon. I don't know if he's CEO still, but he's still not anymore.
No, he's finally semi-retired.
Yeah.
He retired?
Well, he's
by the way, he's now a content creator because I see him all over LinkedIn creating content.
He does a weekly newsletter on that he distributes on LinkedIn about the creator. It's actually quite good.
Well, he knows his stuff
analytical.
Yeah.
And he knows everyone.
Yeah, he does love it, doesn't he? You're watching the two. I'm sorry, this is very inside baseball, everybody. If you want to come back next week, we'll probably get around to tech news. Although that was a pretty good inside story about Automattic there that we would not have had if you had not been here, David. So thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, we're fighting old battles, though, mostly because it's just the old timers sitting around the barrel talking about the good old days. So, Roger, you have kids?
Yes, I have 2 kids.
See, I thought that would never happen.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know, Roger. I just feel like
I'm forever like the fresh-faced 23-year-old.
Exactly. You never grew up from my point of view. So are you married?
Tell them about the gout.
I'm very married.
Look at that.
I've been married for 10 years. 10 years.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's congratulations. And how old are your children?
They are 6 and 9. One will turn 10 with the new year.
And you love them? Apple of your eye?
Yes. As they get older, there are certain things that I am trying to work out. But overall, I am very pleased with their trajectory.
Good for you. See, I just didn't know you had it in you, Roger. That's all I'm just saying.
Man, wow!
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
You're like
I'm very happy for you.
You're like a high school coach rolled in with a drunk uncle all at one time.
Oh my God,
that's me. In a nutshell,
Roger, you go do great things, but
Uncle Coach Leo, they call me that. And Robert, what are you up to these days, Robert Heron?
I still do a variety of basically technical content and in-person assistance through my company, HeronFidelity.com.
You do a TV calibration and things like that, and
AV calibration assistance in terms of consulting local businesses and individuals for their AV needs. I also have managed to stay busy with either through a variety of other gigs that I just kind of pile onto it all, namely either writing or doing consultation work for various manufacturers of the gear I'm usually getting hands-on with anyway. Nice. And it has, ever since the TechTV days, that led us down to G4, and then eventually I ended up back at Ziff Davis Media through PC Magazine and Extreme Tech until they laid off the whole West Coast. And at that point, I got it was like the 3rd or 4th layoff I had been through, and I was a little burned out on that. And that's kind of what set me on the path of sort of, can I work for myself and how long can I do it? And so far it's been just, it's been a fun ride and taken me around the world a couple times. And
nice.
Yeah. In terms of the different companies you interact with, be it from Asia to you name it, and across the United States. there's a lot of fun to be had. And I'm still kind of doing what I've always done while just keeping up on the latest and greatest as far as technology goes. I'll be at CES come January again. That's like my playground for seeing all the new stuff coming out, in addition to some local trade shows too, like through SID, Society of Information Displays, when they do a local trade show here in San Jose. And that's where you can really meet the scientists involved of who's crafting the technology you'll be looking at in the coming year or two. And between all of it, it's just, I have a lot of people I'm grateful toward in terms of either helping me out, being on your show back in the day, Call for Help, as an intern, taking over Roger's old position.
Were you an intern at Call for Help?
Well, I took over Roger's job, and then when Louderback started the lab, Patrick got me into there.
That's right.
And that was a highlight.
Is the word.
That was a total highlight of because then it's like after G4 ended up being invited by Louderback was working for Ziff Davis Media and their West Coast office, and I ended up going back to that environment, which surrounded me with just some amazing tech heads and good writers, and just being able to create a new environment in the early days of streaming content. And it was all just utterly fantastic. And nowadays, I kind of spread my time between my business, and I'm a member of a local service club for the last 14 years or so. And that gives me a way to contribute back to the community. And I work with a children's group every week, teaching safety and other items. And
it's
neat. Just, I do what I can, and I really enjoy what I'm doing. And I have no kids.
You're the only one on here, right?
You're
the only one. Now that Prager actually had a child at his advanced age.
And I'm 47.
Listen,
there's a lot of kids, though.
Let's just say the tax deductions are incredibly beneficial.
My kids Henry is 30 and Abby's 32.
Oh, wow.
And you remember them coming on Call for Help, and they were this high. You know?
I remember when it was just Abby.
Yeah.
Then
Henry was born. Yeah. It goes really fast. That's all I can warn you. And just enjoy. I know it's hard as they get more teenagery, but enjoy it. And David, you're right in the middle of it. A 2-year-old. Wow, that's
yeah. It's crazy. It's what's weird is it's finally gotten to be sort of normal. When I say the word like my daughter, like it feels normal.
It takes a while to get that.
I got married in 2017. It took me a full year where I was used to saying my wife.
Yeah.
So, but it's great. It's going well. We're just taking her out of her nanny program. So she's going into this preschool, and it was immediately, the childcare is so expensive. So it's like, I feel like I just got a massive raise because it cuts our childcare expenses in half, and they were ridiculously high. So
it is, it is no joke. Yes, childcare is very expensive. I am very grateful for the many programs California presents to parents that helps alleviate some of the cost.
Yeah, it's I think people don't realize how hard it is being a mom and dad. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. It is a lot. It is very rewarding. Like,
it's the worst thing you ever did and the best thing simultaneously, right?
I was at the first my kids' first Girl Scout meeting like last month, and I said, this is going to be weird, but it's actually kind of cool. You get to be around the other parents as they're making their little friendship bracelets, and
they don't call them Girl Scouts anymore, right?
It's brownies, Scouts, but it's brownies for the eldest, and then daisies for my youngest.
Oh, isn't that sweet? You're watching a special episode of This Week in Tech, our 1000th episode. I thought I'd bring the old gang back together. We can catch up. We got more catching up to do. But I have to take a break because we're ad-supported. Actually, we're also club-supported. I know all of you have, I think almost all of you have Patreon pages and clubs. And that's one thing that's really changed, and I think been very powerful, is the ability to go directly to your audience and have the audience support what you do. I know Roger DTNS is doing great based on Patreon support.
I will say this: if we had Patreon back in the Revision 3 days,
it might have been a different thing, huh?
It would have been completely different.
Yeah.
There is a level of there's a rapport between you and the audience that supports you that I find to be very supportive. It's not how things used to be, where if you weren't careful, things would just kind of devolve into a very toxic atmosphere. It's a very it's no joke.
No, it can. I've been there too. Yeah.
We have life like 6-7 year supporters.
Isn't that great? Yeah.
And they're they've transitioned into Patreon from their days of just watching when we started in 2014, and it is I'm always impressed. Everyone has a very a very productive conversation. They have ideas. It's never very like you said something stupid and I'm just going to rag on you, but it's hard to describe. I'm always constantly amazed that it is as healthy as it is.
What is clear to me after doing this for 20 years is that the real secret to this kind of media, I don't want to even call it podcasting, because it's YouTube, it's a whole variety of things. But the real secret is community. It's building a community around you. It's not audience. I kind of always said that even in the TechTV days. It's not about an audience. It's about a community. It's about you and a group of people together. And
the ZDTV Netcam network.
Yeah. Look how far we've come, though. I mean, it used to be we had to send them we'd send them a 3-com Netcam, right?
With the PCI card that they had to install themselves.
And then they had to pick up the phone because you couldn't do both video and audio at any decent quality. And
especially,
they'd be on the phone and there'd be one frame every 4 seconds.
We could argue whether they could do video at a decent quality. It was just
forget video.
QSIP video was a miracle by any standards at that
phone,
point.
The phone was both a stroke of genius, but also an indictment of the level of technology of teleconferencing at that time, right? Because worst case scenario, the video goes dark. We could still get their audio, and we could
the phone is going to work. Yeah.
You could totally talk to them.
Yeah.
But I mean, the community is it. What you've said is that having a strong community, it's amazing, because there is we're very conscientious of this on DTNS, is to have a conversation. It's not just a one-way, blah, one way.
Yep.
It's a back and forth. And I think that's the key, is to have, a conversational, community-driven approach to the content.
We started a club about 2 years ago, Club Twit, and it is now a significant part of our revenue. And without it, I don't know if we'd be able to continue, to be honest with you, because podcast advertising is kind of dwindled. We found a niche with because we're a tech podcast network with B2B technology companies. But really, the club is a big part of what we do these days. If you're not a member, by the way, $7 a month, Club Twit, twit.tv/Club Twit. Somebody was about to say something. I heard a breath. I do want to do an ad.
I was going to. This might be out of left field. Brad Murphy, who he worked at TechTV.
Know Brad well. Love Brad.
Yeah, he did sales for Revision 3, and now he started his own company called Seismic, and they just put together, advertisers with what generally is called creators, but you would be in that bucket. I'm just almost wondering.
Well, that's what's interesting, David.
Like, does he try to put brands onto your shows?
Having done this for so long, I was a creator, I was an influencer, but well before those categories existed. So I'm not now, because I've been doing it too long to be one of the kids today. Anyway, I do want to take a break. We'll come back with more of this great panel and more memories of TechTV and Twit as we do our 1000th episode with Patrick Norton, Robert Heron, Roger Chang, and David Prager. It's great to have you. And a little ghostly visit from Kevin Rose earlier on. Our show today brought to you by Veeam. Oh, here's a product. Let me tell you, if you don't have Veeam, you need Veeam. Without your data, your customers' trust turns to digital dust. That's why Veeam's data protection, and this is the important term, ransomware recovery, ensures that you can secure and restore your enterprise data wherever and whenever you need it, no matter what happens. And I often wonder, Who are these companies that are getting brought down by ransomware and paying millions of dollars in ransomware fees just to get back to work? Don't they know about Veeam as the #1 global market leader in data resilience? Actually, a lot of companies do know about Veeam. Veeam is trusted by over 77% of the Fortune 500. 77% to keep their businesses running when digital disruptions like ransomware strike. You got to worry about the other 23%. Maybe that's the ones that you see in the headlines every single day. Veeam lets you back up and recover your data instantly, but not just locally, but across your entire cloud ecosystem. It also is proactive. They don't just sit back and say, well, we'll have it all backed up. They look for and detect malicious activity, and they give you a chance to remove the guesswork by automating your recovery plans and policies. You're going to get real-time support from ransomware recovery experts should the worst happen. Data, it's the lifeblood of your business, so get data resilient with Veeam. VEEAM. Go to Veeam.com to learn more. VEEAM, Veeam.com. We thank them so much for their support of This Week in Tech, and we thank you for supporting us by going to Veeam.com. And if they ask, you say, oh yeah, I heard it on Twit. You need it. Veeam. We're celebrating 1,000 episodes. It'll be 20 years. Our first episode was in April 2015, so it'll be 20 years in about 6 months. But, we've done 1,000 of these, and it all started... there was episode 0, which I think everybody here was on episode 0, which we did after Macworld Expo at a brew pub, the 21st Amendment brew pub, which Patrick looked up and said...
Was it 21st Amendment, or was it the one across the street from the W, the Spanish tapas place, I thought?
No.
It was 21st.
It was 21st.
Okay.
Because I remember we were walking as a group down 2nd to get to it.
So you guys were all on, and Sarah, your wife, Patrick, was, but I wouldn't put her through this. So you represent the couple. And then we did, and that was so cool because we did that ad hoc, just without any plans. We sat and talked. It was fun. Put it up, and I think 20,000 people downloaded it. And I was like, whoa. I had already been podcasting the radio show that I do. And so I already had the kind of the mechanism for people to download it, such as it was and so forth. But I couldn't believe how many people did it. But there was no way, because you guys were all over. Most of you had gone to LA with G4. There was no way to kind of get, and I was up in Petaluma to get everybody together until somebody called the radio show on Skype. And it sounded really good. And I said, what are you, you're not on a phone, are you? They said, no, we're on Skype. I said, oh, maybe that'll make it work. Although if you listen to episode 1, Kevin Rose was sitting on the floor in the attic. Patrick, you were on Skype. I think you were under your car. Oh no, you had just come back from a long drive somewhere, like a road race or something.
Probably from some desert race.
Desert race,
Baja
I think
1000,
so.
Right?
Yeah, something like that. And so the quality was so terrible. And I can remember for years, Sunday night, the show would be over, and I would spend 5-6 hours working on this audio, trying to make it so that you could even understand what was going on, what people were saying and stuff.
It was an experience.
You could probably take that same audio quality and run it through some AI,
little AI now.
Filters. And it's kind of sad because, I mean, even doing color correcting for video, you don't have to spend that much time on it anymore because
it's so automatic.
The tools it's incredible. And even for audio editing, you can strip out. I mean, 5 years ago, you could strip.
Look at the scripts.ai. You can edit the text, and it will do the audio edits and stuff. Have you heard the new Notebook LM, Google's Gemini Notebook LM that makes a podcast out of anything?
Yes, I passed my resume through it, and it's the most... I will say there's a level of hallucination that's both...
so weird.
That is both kind of worrying, but also very like, wow, I sound so much better than what I put into it. And it is both, I think, a very... interesting display of the technology, but also I think underscores the limitation. I passed my resume. I passed a couple of wiki pages. I put in a product web page. I think it was like for a soda, and you tend to see where it repeats or the familiarity of certain aspects of it. But I mean, if you want to hear your entire life's work kind of spoken about in a podcast, in a very kind of conversational podcast.
So Roger, when you did this, did it have basically like two anonymous-ish podcast hosts talking about, let's talk about Roger Chang.
Yes.
And they just talk to you up.
There's a male, there's a female voice.
And they sound like podcasters because they sound kind of dopey. And like, oh yeah, wow, like, you know, I mean, they're kind of, it's very kind of ad-libby, right?
Yeah, it has a very conversational, like, whoa, hold on. So you're saying, and then they drop in the, I even dropped in an article.
You're saying that Roger Chang worked at Revision 3? Is that what you're telling me?
I mean, it said I was at the cusp of the cable TV revolution.
Oh, yes,
like, and it's just like, wow, this sounds so much better than what I typed in.
It's kind of, you know, I have mixed feelings about it. It sounds like you do too, Roger, because on the one hand, it makes everything sound kind of mediocre, but on the other hand, it's kind of amazing that it can do that, right?
There will be a time where so much of it that we find so kind of jaw-dropping or eyeball-popping will become so rote and generic that people will automatically dismiss it. In the same way that when Photoshop allowed you to alter images for the first time in a way that seemed semi-realistic and you didn't need to use airbrushing or anything, people's like, whoa, this is going to change things. But people got used to it, and then you say, hey, this totally looks Photoshopped because, you know, people acclimatize to the change, and then they start seeing the seams and they start pointing it out.
There are moments when it's really surreal, like, I know a podcast and gets translated into several languages, and the tool they use, you know, it's one thing for it to sort of like listen to the podcast and translate it into Spanish, but the thing, it's one of the places where AI is actually working phenomenally well, because it not only turns the podcast into Spanish, but it makes it sound like the person hosting the podcast as if they were speaking Spanish. So their accent's relatively intact, except, speaking Spanish. It's really surreal when it works. When it doesn't work, yeah, I think Roger, Leo, the whole moment where you're just like, that was almost like a human, but not.
I mean, it's weird because you bring up the translation thing. The one thing that I remember distinctly from the whole Meta conference or convention or a keynote that they did was, with the Meta glasses and then doing the real time translation,
yeah,
which is kind of like the golden, like the Stanley Cup of like real time.
It's the Babel fish from Hitchhiker's Guide. I mean, it would be amazing.
I mean,
but I have to say, every tech company has shown this demo. And I'm still waiting for it to actually happen. You can kind of do it with your phone. Have you tried this at all? You're in Mexico and you say, "Hey, how much are the tacos?" And it does.
Google Translate is amazing.
I just had this done to me two weekends ago. Someone wanted some change to park at the beach because we were at the beach over in Santa Monica, and she didn't speak any English, so her daughter came out. She must have been like 14, and she had her phone out and she just had it say what they wanted. I mean, it's definitely a technology that I think will be the kind of like when it works, and it works for everybody. Like you're not tied to a specific platform. You're not tied to a specific service. It's going to blow up because now people will have a way to converse that you don't necessarily need to spend a lot of time, which is not to say that you shouldn't spend time learning a different language. I think it opens up your concept of different things, being from a bilingual family. But it is very much like I think it will go a long way to helping people interact in situations that might have been a little more clumsy otherwise.
Totally. I've been in scenarios where I am the stranger in a strange land, and that was the only tool I had available to me to communicate with those around me. And it served its purpose better than expected. And this is even going back a few years now, across several languages, and everything from trying to order a meal in a restaurant I otherwise wouldn't have set foot in, to just people on the street. Or I keep going back to Google Translate, but they have an ability just to have a message you can flash up on your phone in large text. And that was useful for just quickly signaling to someone who may not be that adept at their own language even, and being able to just get something across quickly, or in-depth conversations like, oh, you know what? I need to understand fully what this person is trying to get across to me. And you can literally lay that device between you and them and just both look at the screen to reference what's being said and translated in real time. And it impresses me when it works perfectly.
I had a several-hour layover in Istanbul coming home, and I took an Uber just because I wanted to, I'd never been to Turkey.
Turkish is a hard language.
And
That's a tough language.
The Uber driver whipped out his phone and just basically started having a conversation with me because he wanted to know what I was doing there and how much time I had. And we just had a short conversation and then I give him credit. I didn't pull out any app. The Uber driver did.
So you talked into his phone and it translated for him?
No, so he said something and he played it for me. And then I forget what the app was. It might have been just Google Translate. You hit a button and it switches it from
Microsoft
Turkish to English and then English to Turkish. Yeah. And then some of them, I believe, they'll just auto detect the language.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They will. Yeah.
And the cool thing is I use Google's earbuds. And so I can have the translated speech go into my ear and they don't have to hear that repeated. And it makes it even more seamless that way, where it is very close to being like the Babelfish, which is
the Star Trek Universal Translator.
It is impressive.
Patrick, you're a writer, though. Do you ever think, what do you think about AI and writing? There's a controversy coming up next month. The NaNoWriMo folks were saying, it's okay to use AI. And then a lot of writers are saying it is absolutely not okay to use AI for NaNoWriMo.
Well, I think using AI for NaNoWriMo defeats the entire purpose of NaNoWriMo.
Yeah, what are you doing here?
In the process of creation and become.
But maybe for inspiration or something like that,
there's. So, I've spent most of my adult life writing. I've taught people to write. I've helped people write. I've edited people's stuff. I've turned web articles into, scripts. I've turned scripts into web articles. I've written for, blah, 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 right? So I like books. Yeah,
you have a few behind you for people not watching the video. Looks like you're in a library.
I'd say it's the vibe we're going for here. But so it's interesting, right? There was a sort of a, somebody, a freelance client I worked with had a service. It was like a gig economy deal where you paid, you had a 12-month contract, you paid however much per month, and they generated, 6,000 words a month for you. It was trash. It was bad.
It's very mediocre, I find, just like the Notebook LM stuff is.
Well, hold that thought for a second, right? Because this was humans. Oh. And none of them... they didn't know what a lead paragraph was.
Right.
They couldn't write a 6th grade essay. You were supposed to tightly outline things, and I would tightly outline things, and they would not actually follow the outline. It was a mess. And and when ChatGPT 3 was released, the client I was working with, ran something through ChatGPT 3, and they're like, "How does this compare to such and such?" Oh, wow. And I was like, "Well, that's better than what the service is doing, and it's for all intents and purposes free." One of the things I know a lot of people who write content, whether it's on the marketing side or the whatever side you want to take, is that different tools do the job better than others. Different services like ChatGPT 3 got worse and worse over time. It was like the more people used it, the longer and weirder the sentences got. So it went from tight, clean copy with a solid lead to these sort of meandering things. I don't imagine there's anybody in this podcast right now who hasn't done a Google search and thought to themselves, "Gosh, I really hate the SERP results being clogged up with this AI at the top," or what? Because I don't think I get through 3 days in a row without looking at Google's summary of search results without being horrified or laughing.
I've stopped using Google. I think they're making a big mistake. I think they've gone way downhill.
That was one thing I've come to appreciate at TechTV, especially, was having a copy editor. Somebody could go over what I'd written, and it made me a better writer in the end. And that's where I see AI right now as one of the best tools available. Granted, it's taking jobs away from people who study very hard to be very good at the written word. but it is a wonderful tool to go through and take a look at. Hey, just take a look at what I've written. Is there anything obvious and glaring? And then also for research, it is so much better to use a tool like GPT-4 or whatever you want. And as far as its ability to tell you where it's getting that information from and to present you with relevant facts about a particular topic, I enjoy it and I appreciate it for what it is.
It's weird because I use ChatGPT because I write a weekly column for the DTNS patrons, and I run it through ChatGPT to copy edit. Then I take that and I pass it through my wife, who's a copy editor, and there are still things that need to be cleaned up, and there's still things that need to be done, but it does kind of shave off some of the work. I will say that some of the alternatives it offers tends to kind of blandize what you're writing. If you write in a specific voice, it tends to make it a little more generic, which I find kind of not helpful if you want to stand out. I also find for research, I still follow up with all the links to double check, because there have been a few cases where ChatGPT, but Gemini also does this, where it will confuse two very similar pieces of information as the same thing. And I go through, because the last thing you want to do is, this so-and-so happened to this person, when it was in fact two different people with a very close sounding name.
So it sounds like you guys are all bullish on AI. Is that fair to say? Anybody not?
I am bullish, but I'm also circumspect about what it can do. I think there's a hype cycle around AI
for sure,
where we kind of had the same thing with big data. A decade ago, everyone was saying you got to collect all the data. You'll be able to process it. You'll be able to find the best customers, and then you'll target them with ads straight to their eyeball that sell them that one product that no one else wants but they want. It's not that I don't think AI will be fruitful. I just think there's also a lot of people trying to get into the space, and it tends to froth up things more so than I think people would understand it to be.
I think it's a wonderful assistant, and I encourage many people who may not even consider such a tool in their day-to-day lives. I know a lot of people in very blue-collar industries that are being asked now to prove themselves again within say they've just been bought out recently, and they need to be more technologically astute, or however you want to put it. And that is a tool you can literally go to and just have a conversation with about maybe a subject you're not familiar with. I've also encouraged some of my young nieces and nephews. It's like, hey, look, they're dealing with everything from like a class project where it was like, okay, here's a coding language you guys are working with to make an LED turn on and off. I'm not 100% familiar with what it is you're working with there, but I can ask, say, ChatGPT-4 to provide sample code for this and give you guys at least an idea of where to start. Yeah. It's a wonderful tool like that. Yeah. And every programmer I have come across in the last few years, everyone has a paid account for GPT, and they are using that as a base just to get the grind work done as far as whatever project they're currently working on or trying to finish.
We just interviewed Kevin Pereira from Attack on the Show, and he actually uses ChatGPT to write, or not ChatGPT, another generative AI to write code for him for a thing he's working on. It's just like, I don't really know how to code, but it works, and it works enough for what I need to do.
There's a recipe for disaster.
Well, and it does.
I don't know what it's doing, but it seems to work.
I think it kind of reminds me of the WYSIWYG days of HTML editors, where it did a lot of stuff for you, but at the same time, it was like, you need to understand what the what this command, what this library does. Right. So if you need to fix something or change it, you understand how to go about it.
I've also never thanked a Google search, but I regularly drop a thank you here and there to ChatGPT.
So Kevin Rose told me that. He says, always thank the AI. You never know. You never know.
Absolutely.
You know it's coming.
Are you worried about the existential threat that some people talk about with AI, that it's going to achieve the singularity, become as smart as humans, and then just start to write us off? Or is that
I'm more worried about it replacing everybody who generates content and ideas. I mean, which is on one hand is ridiculous, right?
You don't need it. Well, yeah. All I have to do is, I have 10,000, 100,000 hours worth of content on the internet. They could turn me into a bought easily.
Or could they, right? I mean, there's moments when it's really close to the Turing test and you're like, this is great. And then something goes completely sideways and you're like, okay, you blew that. But
is it max headroom or it's better than max headroom, isn't it?
I think it's better. This is the thing. I'm not worried about having the general artificial intelligence come up and dictate in kind of that the Colossus way of, I'm going to take care of you and I'm going to manage human society. So just buckle under and I'll take care of the rest.
Yeah, just relax. I'm in charge now.
I think we are at I mean, it's not an understatement to say that society is at a change point, inflection point that's not all that different than the Industrial Revolution.
You think so? You think it's that big a deal?
I've talked.
Yes.
I have a number of friends that work in the industry, whether they do visual effects, whether they're writers for shows. They're very concerned about it, and it's because they are producing work that a lot of these generative AI models are based on, and they feel, whether rightly or wrongly, that one, they're not getting compensated. Two, this is a way for certain companies, certain studios to say, hey, I will use your stuff once, and then I'll use generative AI to fill out the rest. So it's not like it's going to replace them, but it's going to shortchange them, if that makes sense.
You agree?
Well, it's certainly, if you look. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, when you look at kind of entry level knowledge work, information processing, the stuff that like claims processing for insurance companies, or basic level tech support. A lot of this, a lot of people I know who are pretty, not particularly bullish on AI, but bullish on giving the best customer experience, are like, look, if we can train an AI to properly handle that first level of, customer check, right? Like everybody's called into their ISP, and like the first or second question is like, have you rebooted your modem? Have you rebooted your router? Right? And there's no reason a lot of that stuff can't be done by AI, and not particularly poorly. It's as it starts getting more and more advanced, because it do level 2 or level 3 tech support. How much programming is it does? Can we trust its programming? How do we create an AI that affords security if you are doing work where your product will end up, in 3-letter agencies of the United States military or someplace? There's a huge number of questions, and Roger's absolutely right. It's like the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. At some level, it was like, we're going to make more money because we're going to weave cloth faster, or make shoes faster, or make steel faster, or make whatever faster, and you fast forward 150 years and there's a lot of unintended consequences. I think for some people, what those unintended consequences are is kind of like, is it nightmare fuel? Is it whatever? We'll figure it out as we go along. Looking at the energy consumption for a lot of the AI systems,
that's a big issue, isn't it?
They're looking. Microsoft is working to restart 3 Mile Island.
Yeah.
Granted, it's not the reactor that it's well known for.
It's not the one that broke. It's the other one. Yeah,
it's a good one.
But I think again, there's a confluence of things. We have a demographic, at least in developed economies, you have a demographic crunch. But even in emerging economies, whether it's in Latin America, you're looking in East Asia, people are getting older. There are fewer young people, and so a lot of the nascent labor force that used to be an abundant supply to do all that stuff that made it so cheap to have, your sneakers made at like 50 cents, a pair, in some factory, and then sell it to you for $100, isn't there anymore. And I think companies see AI as sort of a bridge for a lot of that work, and it's. Again, we're in that frothy period where it's really hard to determine how that plays out. What will be impacted is the call centers, right? The call centers that right now are either offshored to India or the Philippines, whether it's, have you, just websites where you used to have like just a bunch of articles that are written by AI to fill out a web page to get clicks. I think it is a very. I can see a lot of the concern. I don't think it's as negative as people think it will be, but it will require a reevaluation of how our education system prepares people for a labor market that is, for an understanding of a labor market that's 50 years old.
Part of the problem is it is so unknown, right? We don't know exactly what's going to happen. We're living California tried to pass an AI regulation law, which the governor vetoed last week. And in a way, I was kind of glad he vetoed it because I think it's too soon. We don't know what AI safety is. We don't know what AI is capable of. We don't know if there'll be a singularity. Maybe it's just going to be a kind of a crappy writing tutor for the rest of our lives. And it seems sensible to kind of wait and see and watch what happens, right, before we make any decisions about it or regulate it.
I mean, one of the truisms that has existed, at least in Western society, is that a university education guaranteed you not maybe a great income, but a decent income, right? You could go through 4 years, whether it's a bachelor, master's, or maybe not a master's, PhD. You would be able to have an expectation of, I can get into the corporate world, I can make X amount of dollars. I won't be super rich, but I can get by. I can have kids. I can do all that. That's all changed, right? Like having a 4-year degree no longer kind of guarantees you a certain standard of living. And I think for so long, what we consider to be white collar, more educated kind of professions, and we kind of turned our noses down into trades, whether it's carpentry, plumbing, electricians, and all that stuff.
Those won't be replaced, will they? Yeah, those jobs are going to be
those are the jobs that in my parents' generation, what my uncle does, right? I'm going to be a white collar worker.
Do you think your kids will be able to afford a house, Roger?
I don't know. My wife and I have talked about it. I have already decided that I'm going to leave them my house. This house that I have right now, I'm going to leave it to them. I'm also
But see, you're lucky. That's generational wealth. It doesn't feel like it, I'm sure, but it is.
No.
That's generational wealth.
I am very, very well aware of how, there's people that don't get that. Right. And when the boomers finally, shuffle off their mortal coil, we're going to have a demographic deficit, right? Because they are such a huge chunk of the population, not just in terms of labor, but of consumption. Right, those are the people that still buy things, whether it's apparel, vacations, or food or groceries. They're spending, and without them in the economy, a lot of things start to change. In fact, you can kind of see how it plays out when you look at countries like Japan that have a very advanced aging economy. Where
they have a problem, don't they?
I mean, you know this. Once your kids are out of the house, your spending totally changes. You don't buy the same things. You tend to spend less, and I think AI is coming at a point where all these things are coming at once, and people are like, what am I going to do? My kids will not have the same opportunities. They might have better ones. They might have worse ones. Too early to tell. But it is something that I think keeps policymakers, as well as just, the regular folks, a little concerned.
You're watching a kind of a special version of TWiT, the 1000th episode, a reunion of all the original TWiT hosts. Robert Heron is here, and David Prager, and Roger Chang, and Patrick Norton. We're glad you guys could be here. It's really kind of fun to talk to you and find out what you've been up to today and what you think of the world today. We're going to take a little break, come back with a lot more. So hang in there. Our show today brought to you this week by Coda, C-O-D-A. Coda helps everyone on the same page by bringing the best of documents, spreadsheets, and apps into a single platform. If you tried it, it's so cool. It helps your team collaborate by centralizing all your processes, all your knowledge sharing into one space, one source of truth, one place you can collaborate together, one place where you can stay aligned by managing your planning cycles in a single location or setting and measuring OKRs with full visibility across teams. It's all there. Communicate and collaborate on documents, roadmaps, and tables instantly. And Coda is great because it comes with hundreds of templates. Plus, if you go to the Coda gallery, you will be really inspired by the kinds of things people have used Coda for and are using Coda for. It's quite remarkable. Coda, C-O-D-A. It empowers your startup to strategize, plan, and track goals effectively. Take advantage of a limited time offer. This is just for startups. Coda, CODA.io/twit. If you go to coda.io/twit today, you'll get 6. Whoa. I didn't see this number. Wow. 6 free months of the team plan. That is a great way to get started. CODA.io/twit. Start for free, 6 free months of the team plan. I love it when advertisers do that. That's a sign that they are confident you're going to start using it and say, we can't live without it. Coda.io/twit. We thank them so much for their support of This Week in Tech and our 1000th episode. Let's see here. Whoa, I should say, by the way, welcome to our viewers. We have right now 1,598 people watching on 7 different streams. We stream on Discord for our Club Twit members. Of course, YouTube, as we have for many years. We also are on twitch.tv, youtube.com/twit, twitch.tv/twit. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, x.com, and Kick. There you go, 7 different ways you can watch. And I'm seeing a very active chat in all of those places. It's really great to see everybody in there. Thank you for being here for our 1000th episode. When we first started doing this show, it was audio only, and I don't know if you remember, but we were like on AOL radio. We got some bandwidth from AOL. We got some bandwidth from here, a cup of bandwidth there. Cobbled it all together. It was just a crazy thing, and I had no idea how we were going to get. As the numbers started going up, how we could get this out to people. I thought, you just put it on a website. No, it doesn't work that way. So
I always laugh.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I remember somebody was like, bandwidth costs nothing. And I just had this bitter laugh in a meeting.
Oh.
And they're like, what's your damage? And I'm like, I remember redoing all of the rendering and all of the output for DLTV, and I reduced our bandwidth cost by like $10,000 in a single month
by shrinking the files.
By shrinking everything down. Yeah. And somebody was like, "Wait, what?" And I'm like trying to explain, the early days of content, data networks and how everything worked. They're like, "That's ridiculous." I'm like, "Well, yeah, you used to pay a lot of money. Now you don't."
It's gotten much easier. I mean, look at all those 7 places we're streaming. It's basically free for us. We don't have to pay for that. That's only a fraction of the people who end up downloading the show, but I think it's still nice. I think it's important. You always did this, to offer a live version if you can, because that's what you do, Roger, with DTNS, because live is more interactive. People can talk back to you. You can have a conversation.
It's more interactive, but it also, what I found is it gives the chance for the community to talk amongst themselves in a way that they normally couldn't if it was just a download and then they send.
That's what's happening in the chat rooms. Yeah, that's really cool, isn't it? They know each other now. Many of them have known each other for years and have chatted together for years. It's amazing. I'm always impressed because there is a quality of conversation, I think, that you would be missing out on if it wasn't live, if you didn't have that option. Even if it's a small subset of the entire viewing or a listening audience, it's still engaging, and it allows people who maybe haven't seen a live show, but it's like, hey, I've heard that guy make comments 3 times. I want to be on it. I want to go live so I can talk not just with Sarah, Tom during the show, but also talk to the other members of the community. It develops a parasocial relationship between your audience and you, right?
Well, it turns that parasocial. Instead of like, oh, I look at fondness, look at you from a distance, to a more bi-directional conversation, which I think is what you kind of want.
But we always experience that, right, Patrick? We'd go out to those signings. I see people all the time who say, "I saw you and Patrick in Tom's River," or "I saw," remember the time we were in the CompUSA parking lot. And it was a long line, and we've been signing, and the rental company came and they took the table in the tent.
Oh yeah,
and we still were signing. They actually took the thing down because you only rented it for 3 hours or whatever. Those are amazing experiences, because it was, even though it was a brief encounter, it was like meeting people you knew.
I think it was Harry who sat me down when I first started. I don't know if you guys remember Harry Fuller? In the early days of Harry Fuller's like, look, you don't understand yet. Like, people are going to develop this intense relationship with you, and you just, they're going to watch you over dinner. You're going to be in their living room. They're going to see you more than they see their closest friends. They're going to watch you in bed. They're going to watch you, God help me, in the toilet. And I was just like, Harry, you're not really helping my anxiety. But it was really amazing because, writing for websites or magazines never had that kind of impact on an audience. So yeah, it was that first time we went to St. Louis. It was kind of like, oh, wow, what just happened?
There are people here. I remember the very first
incredible
thing we did. The TechTV sales team was going to Las Vegas just to kind of promote us with the cable company there. And Kate and I found out, and Kate said, "Well, why can we go?" And they said, "You want to go?" And they said, "Yeah, we'd like to go." And I think it was at a CompUSA. And I remember getting out of the car in the parking lot. I remember Kate grabbing my arm, her nails dug into my arm. She said, "There are people here." There were, and it was 100-some degrees. Ken Marcus, remember Ken from our producer?
Oh, yeah.
Ken Marcus.
He hired me.
He kept applying chapstick to my lips. He was going around. He looked like he had a greasy grin, but it was so hot. I think he was trying to take care of us, but it was a little strange. Patrick, I'm going to play something. This will be a blast. From the past. To understand this, you have to remember that this is around 1999, and Dell Computers had a very successful campaign with that stoner guy who said, "Dude, you're getting a Dell." And we made this parody of that.
Mr. and Mrs. Norton Corn? Hey, it's me, Martin, the kid from next door. Sorry about the rhododendrons. Anywho, Patrick here needs some help with his computer. Hi, Mom.
It's Martin Sargent.
Mr. Norton Corn, here's the deal. You can get our friend Patrick the help he needs at TechTV. All you have to do is watch. Ta-da! Tell them what they get, Patrick.
They get Leo and Martin and Patrick and Jessica and
Very
Megan.
good, Patrick. And Mrs. Norton Bean?
That's Norton Corn, actually.
Whatever. The screensavers are on every weeknight.
Perhaps that's why it's America's favorite computer help show.
Perhaps.
Get the screensavers every weeknight at 7, 6 Central on TechTV. All the computer help you need, free. No special deals, no CD burner, no legal blah-de-blah.
Ready? Mr. and Mrs. Laporte, it's me, Martin.
I miss Martin Sargent. He was something else. He's still around. What am I saying? I sound like he's still around, but he's a great fella and a very funny comic.
He's a very good writer. Because I used to have him do copyright work for me.
He worked at one of the big ad agencies in San Francisco.
He did, but what's cool is I always saw him as he's really good at writing sophomore comedy, and that's not a dig. I mean, he's really good at it. And then he started writing serious stuff that would pull at heartstrings about some of the promotions I was doing, and he just struck me how good of a writer he is. And actually, since we were just talking about it, I mean, it speaks to what Patrick was even saying and Roger was talking a little bit about, is the personality that you can pull out of good copywriting. That it's going to be a while. It'll get there, but it's going to be a while before you can really get that kind of prose from a seasoned writer.
I think Tom Merritt's been saying this for a while, is that the future of AI will be kind of narrowcast to train on your specific data. So David, you would have it train on your writing style, so that particular AI will be like David, Chat Prager or whatever, GPT.
Do you think it will be able to impersonate David effectively?
I think it will.
His voice?
I think it will do enough his voice that you could do a lot of the boilerplate emails.
I remember I would read John C. Dvorak, another early member of our little club here, and you could hear his voice when you read his columns. You can hear him go, you can really hear it. And that was when I first realized that a good columnist, especially columnist, they don't let reporters have voice, but a good columnist, you can hear their voice as you're reading their text. But that seems like a very hard thing for an AI to do.
I think we're at a good moment.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think we're at a good moment where there's still a bit of the uncanny valley where you can look at a photograph or you can look at text and almost tell it's still AI, but that is starting to blur. And
that's what I worry about when we can't tell.
It'll be a while though, I think. And I totally see a market, though, for being able to train these systems on your own personal data, especially going forward. You think about just the market alone for, especially as people have recorded themselves more now so than at any time in history, you could transform that into like almost like a living thing of someone who's passed, and to be able to experience grandma or grandpa 20 years from now with all the content they've ever produced. And there's a certain level of creepiness to that, but I think there's also a desire for a lot of people. And the other aspect of AI too is just simply as someone to talk to for mental health. There is quite a bit that can be done in that aspect too, where people might be more comfortable talking to the computer rather than taking that first step toward getting into a professional's office.
Well, let me talk about mental health a little bit, because that's another thing that has been coming up a lot in the last few years, is this notion that the internet and social media in particular is bad for mental health, and that we somehow have to protect our kids from social media. David Prager, are you going to keep your 2-year-old off of TikTok or whatever is, I guess, 10 years from now?
For me, she's too young for me to dwell on it too much. But
well, you're going to have to face this, though, at some point.
Oh, no, I know. Yeah. I mean, I'm to the point where, the main enticement of using a screen, even, which was just a lean back experience, would be to distract her so I don't have to deal with her, type of thing.
Do you ever give her the iPad and say, mommy and daddy?
The only time we do that is when we're cutting her fingernails.
Oh, that's a good place for it.
But
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's something to think about. What's interesting is if you look at, what social media has done for, adolescents on Instagram and a few other networks is that I almost feel like the reaction has been, in a weird way, in a glass half full kind of way, faster than I would have thought. It's taken less than a generation, well under a generation, for the alarm bells to sound off. The fix isn't there. It's starting to get there. So I'm kind of cautiously optimistic that by the time, my daughter is 6 and 7 and 8, which is still, 4 and 5 and 6 years from now, that maybe the infrastructure will be put in place to have a better understanding of how to foster a growing brain and how to have positive social interaction skills develop, because there's a gap of a couple of years or more where we do have issues with that. And maybe I'm lucky that, my daughter's young enough that maybe we'll be able to figure it out a little bit better.
Patrick, what did you do with your kids?
Well, I mean, we, to a certain degree, we did the same thing we talked about doing before I had kids, which was, the computers were out in public. We didn't let them use iPads in the room. We monitored their consumption. Something I've been. But
as soon as it's a phone, it's very hard to keep an eye on it, isn't it?
Yes and no. I mean, I was going to say I've been lucky in that, Seamus is kind of Gen Z or Gen Alpha in the sense that he just really isn't interested in a lot of the social media. And it's been interesting to watch sort of early Gen Z versus late Gen Z, where as you get younger, they sort of look at social media as being this kind of incredible waste of time if they're not deeply enmeshed with it. So, it's been very curious to watch that because Seamus looks at it doesn't really matter if it's TikTok or Instagram or any of a number of other places where he's just like, this is where people go to prove how stupid they are in public. He has a particularly fantastic going off on the whole, like, people eating Tide, the little Tide things, and it was, I don't know, I've been lucky that way. I'm hoping for Prager that he doesn't have to deal with it at all, that they've mutated it down to the point where it's not even something people care about, because especially when you're raising daughters, it's kind of like, oh gee whiz.
It was kind of interesting where Sweden recently passed new guidelines suggesting that parents not expose any child under 3 years old to a screen, period. And then from that point forward, it was like, geez, they got the lights flickering.
Too late.
It bugs me when the government, though, tells parents how to raise their kids. I mean, I understand.
These were guidelines, though.
The guidance makes sense, but the parent, it's the parent's job to do this. Right?
This is where my kids are. They both have Fire tablets that I put Google Play on, but I limit to what they access, and I'm also very judicious about making sure they're not on social media. The only close enough social media outside of maybe YouTube Shorts is Roblox. but Roblox is like the one place where they can actually talk to their friends online.
I hate Roblox.
It is definitely an acquired.
It's a hive of scum and villainy.
This is the thing, one of the things that my wife and I do is to kind of make sure they understand what they see. When I watch what they watch and I go through and I explain, like, that guy doing that, he probably either hurt himself very bad or in some cases that was totally, fake. It's one of those things where I have to explain, like, I don't leave it up to their.
It's probably good, I would imagine, to sit with a kid and go through some of these and say, okay, do you think that was real? It wasn't real. Those people were acting. In fact, to teach them media literacy, in effect, right?
Well, I mean, we started that when the boys were basically zygotes. I mean, Seamus, we started identifying advertising for Seamus from the point he was capable of forming sentences.
They want you to buy that cereal, Seamus.
Yeah.
It's bad for you.
I mean, it's, when you talk about the guidelines for the American Academy of Pediatrics, they're like basically outside of video chatting, they're like, keep your kids off the screens from 18 months and younger. Between 18 and 24, you can start introducing high quality media, in small amounts. Don't hand them an iPad and walk away. I mean, there's also been interesting, there's been a couple cases, where I've seen, Seamus at one point, snuck away with an iPad and coming back. I realized he'd been on YouTube for like 4 hours and seeing some of the holes that people end up on YouTube.
Oh, you can get
It's this weird mixture of mind-boggling and terrifying where you're just like,
stuff.
And I think it's very important to understand that all that doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? Social media isn't this one thing that will either corrupt or liberate your child from whatever notions they have about life. And I think, as with anything else, there just needs to be consistent, active parental engagement with everything, because what happens on social media exists constantly for their kids, because when they go to school, at least when my kids go to school, they talk about these things with their peers.
Right.
And my daughter constantly asks me questions like, so and so says this is going to happen. We're all going to get washed away when the flood happens.
Oh, geez.
And I told her, it's like, no, that's why we have storm drains. You see these big holes with the grates? That takes the water away.
It's like a teaching moment, isn't it, Roger?
It's constant. You constantly need to. I mean, people have been saying this since TV, right? TV's going to rot your brain.
Before TV, they said it. Jeff Jarvis, who's one of our hosts on This Week in Google, has written books about this. They said it about novels. They said it about pretty much every form of media. People are going to read novels and they're going to lose their ability to imagine stuff.
They said this about comic books and the whole report, Seduction of the Innocent. The whole thing was like, hey, your sons are running away up to the woods and they're carrying all these packs of comics with all sorts of weird and creepy things. They're going to get weird ideas. They're maybe commit a felony or worse. They're just corruptible because they're so
right here in River City, and that starts with a T and that.
I mean, like the old things like the old Crypt Keeper comics where there's horror, there's crime.
And that's why they created the comic book code, right? Because they were afraid of kids becoming demented.
And movies, in movies, like there was a thing where, people who were aberrant in behavior were punished at the end of the movie to show that you could not get away with it, that justice would happen in the
movie
end.
Code,
and so, I mean,
bad guys always have to lose. But I think in most cases we're smarter than that, aren't we?
I think what worries people is the scale, right? Your kids can access, my kids can access a tablet a lot quicker, and it's
and AI adding to that, and then foreign governments trying to subvert our.
Well, and this is why you constantly have a conversation with your children, right? You don't just say, see you at the end of the week, after you've maturated and soaked and marinated in all the social media. Also encourage other behavior. Like one of the things my daughter really enjoys is watching YouTube shorts where people draw, because she draws along.
See, that's great. So, there's stuff like that.
Yeah.
There are so many YouTube channels that are a better education than school. If you started wants to know more about storm drains, I guarantee you there is a storm drain channel on YouTube.
Really, I swear y'all have storm drains for a while. But
she's going to go down the storm drain rabbit hole, and then you got trouble.
And I think what's overwhelming for parents is there's just so many avenues for this stuff to come through.
And it's hard because it's all new stuff that we didn't grow up with, right?
Yeah, and we grew up in TV, and we grew up through the threshold of the invention of social media, right? So we were
Well, that's
already
my question for all of us. Did we? So this has come up a lot lately with AI regulation. In fact, it happened on Wednesday. We had a guy on. He said, "You know what? We didn't regulate social media when it started. We should have. We made a mistake. We've learned now that we made a mistake, that social media is deleterious to your mental health. Let's do this. Let's not make the same mistake with AI." That is what people are saying now.
I think what is most damaging about social media is that the bulk of humanity has access to it. And what I've learned,
isn't that the best thing about it?
So this is the thing. I was super big into the fandom. Patrick knows I used to go to Comic-Con every year.
Whenever we needed to know the name of a military vehicle or a military plane, we would say, "Roger, what is that?" And he would say, he would know.
But those communities were really supportive, strong, but they were also very small. As more of a broader scope of humanity entered them, you got a lot of the same issues that you have in broader society. You have bullying. You have people making objective remarks about people, the way they look, their appearance, their religious affiliation, their ethnic, racial background. All the things that people try to get away from mainstream society seeps back in. And I think social media has crested past the point where it was just a select few of people who were super into it. Now to everyone, and everyone's voice, opinion, or whatever is kind of given the same level of weight. And I think a lot of that has to do with where we are culturally and on how to filter that. Because, when I was when we were growing up and watching TV, we already had all the kind of rules about don't believe everything you see on TV. Some of that's just special effects. Other than that, someone just trying to sell you stuff. It isn't real. It's all fake, right? With social media, we're still in that phase of like filtering out people, but because there's so many more people with immediate and quick access to it, they can indulge the emotive part of their brain rather than the rational part of their brain.
There's also, something you're not really acknowledging here is so much of social media is built around an algorithm. The algorithm is engineered to generate traffic. It doesn't care if it's good traffic or bad traffic. It just wants more traffic to run more ads against, and that's where things get really, really weird. I mean, who can remember the last time they saw, who? There's 5 people in this group. Who here has actually seen something they wanted to see in their Facebook feed actually pop up in their Facebook feed?
Oh, never.
Yeah. And I haven't been using it since. You're totally right, Patrick. You're totally right. Same thing with TV, though. There was a reason why reality TV took a boom in the early to mid 2000s, because that was not only inexpensive, but people would watch it.
It was algorithmically driven in the sense that they knew
Nielsen ratings, right? It didn't matter if it was Real Housewives in New Jersey or Orange County or Miami.
The feedback loop is tighter. You had to wait for the ratings to come out, and you had to make sure. Now it's instant, right? They like this. They like this.
The deluge is so much quicker, right? You can get smacked up the head quicker with clickbait than you could before.
You wouldn't want to watch TikTok without an algorithm. I promise you.
I think it's healthy to realize that's what they're doing, and that's how that system works, and to be able to see that, and to have that healthy skepticism along with a well-rounded education is an ideal that all of us have had, and that is what makes us people like us too a little bit different from maybe a lot of people who just haven't had the similar opportunities.
Well, and also a lot of people engage with social media often do times in an emotional state where there might not be in the best of mind, right? Whether it's
don't drink and type.
So back in my health
or call
back in my high school health class, we had to watch a video or a film, not a video, but a film made in the late 60s by that showcased a reverend who had a drinking problem, and he kind of described it in a very non-religious way of what was happening. And the whole thing was that alcohol removed the rational part of your decision making, just leaving your emotional component to take over. And I think when people engage with social media, and they are maybe emotionally vulnerable, or they might be like they're looking for comfort, they are seeking certain things to help them,
I mean, when I see FanDuel ads one after the other on football games, I think of all the people who are addicted to gambling, and now you can bet like every 3 seconds you can place another bet.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
The American way, though. I mean,
it's capitalism.
Alcohol. If cigarettes could still be advertised on TV, they would.
Yeah, and we'd be smoking like chimneys. All right, I want to take a little break because I got to advertise something better than cigarettes. 1000th episode. I remember now why I love you guys so much, and I love getting together with you guys. My old friends from TechTV who helped us start This Week in Tech 1,000 shows ago. That is a long, long freaking time, isn't it? 20 years.
How many of those episodes were you not on, you think?
Oh, almost all of them. No, I was here. No.
I mean, I just know that you've missed maybe 6.
No more than that. Probably 6 a year. Let's say 6 a year.
Okay.
So 120. So that's probably on.
That's a good record.
Well, this is one show I kind of, it's hard for me to miss. But when I go on vacation, we have good people who come in and fill in for us, and that's nice. But I'm getting close to retirement. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't know how much longer I can do this. You ever think, none of you're all 20 years younger than me. You got a long way to go.
I'm a Gen X.
Gen X and younger.
Yeah.
We don't really expect to retire.
You don't expect to retire. Remember, there was a whole thing like, don't expect Social Security to be around when you need it, like when you reach your 60. Listen, I'll be 50 this year. I'll be lucky to see any of the money my parents got from Social Security.
That's true. You guys are paying my Social Security, so I just want to thank you very much.
Believe me, I'm very well aware.
Keep up that good work. All right, I want to take a break. We'll come back with lots more with a wonderful group of people. I hope you're enjoying this trip down memory lane. And it's fun to get, a perspective from people who've been covering tech for 20, 30 years on what's going on today, too. I think that's very interesting. And Robert Heron, I think you're saying you might have blackouts. Your lights are flickering.
They have a few times today. And
it's really hot in the Bay Area, unusually.
And we're in peak energy usage at the moment. Hottest time of the day. It's been over 100 degrees for the last
And I have 5,000 watts of lights on right now. It's my fault.
I have doors closed. I think the AC is running. I have fans on.
Lisa, my wife just came up and said, I don't think the AC is working in the house.
Oh, no.
It might have something to do with all these lights.
One of the things I learned after moving down to LA is you pre-cool your house in the morning when it's cold enough for your AC to dump the heat up.
That's the Texas trick. You open up all the windows and doors, get the cool air, and then you seal it up.
I'm also in a rental with very poor insulation, I've come to discover.
That's not good.
On the west side of the house.
Robert, if you at some point the lights go out, we'll just say, okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Robert Heron.
I do appreciate it.
Don't sweat it.
I don't want you to think I'm just pulling the plug here.
No. Hey, we want to say thank you to our sponsor, longtime sponsor of our shows, Melissa, the data quality experts since 1985, even longer than we've been around. When you need the full white glove service, or if you just need the nuts and bolts, Melissa is the best for your enterprise. Melissa now offers transparent pricing for all its services. So that's nice. You don't have to guess when estimating your business budget. Join the 10,000 businesses worldwide that have benefited from Melissa's industry-leading solutions. What does Melissa do, you may ask, now that I've said all those wonderful things about them? They clean your data, your address lists, your supplier lists. Those things are literally decaying before your very eyes. People move, phone numbers change, emails change. But Melissa can keep that address data up to date. They make it easy for you to cleanse and standardize your data within popular platforms. You don't even have to exit the programs you're already using to help improve ROI, to optimize business efficiency, and to elevate the customer experience. Because customers, they don't like it when you send their goods to the wrong address or when you call them by the wrong name. Melissa offers integrations and apps and platforms and spreadsheet editors like Microsoft 365, Google Sheets, Dynamics 365, Esri, Stripe, Shopify. All can have Melissa built in. And that's when that's when you want it, because it's so easy to transpose numbers or accidentally misspell an address or put the wrong phone number in. And Melissa helps that as you're entering that data, helps it be clean and valid. You'll improve address data quality, so you'll save money. You'll keep customers happy. You'll improve payment processing. It's great for eliminating fraud. It improves deliverability with clean, standardized data. And you keep customer records accurate with out-of-the-box cleansing tools. G2 continues to recognize Melissa as a leader in data quality and address verification. That was just this summer 2024. Melissa, of course, treats your data like the gold that it is. They're committed to the security and privacy of all the client data in their care through responsible use. I mean, they have a 38-year history of establishing and refining their controls to secure data. They're SOC 2, HIPAA, high trust, GDPR compliant. So you don't have to worry. Your data is safe with Melissa. Get started today. Try it out right now with 1,000 records cleaned for free at melissa.com/twit. Melissa.com/twit. If you have data, you got to keep it clean. That's the most valuable thing in your business. And you can do it with Melissa at a very affordable price. Melissa.com/twit. We thank them so much for their support of This Week in Tech. Episode 1000, and we've brought together some of the old timers from the original, the very first episode, actually episodes 0 and 1. Patrick Norton, Robert Heron, David Prager, and of course Roger Chang. Roger, you ever get these Meta glasses? You ever try these at all? Anybody use these? I'm going to take your picture right now. Look at that. See that little light? You'd never know. I'm taking your picture. Have you tried them, anybody?
No. Do they link to your phone for the processing?
Yeah, some of it. And they have very good sound in the temple pieces. And they just did an update, which means I can look at, I press stuff and I could just say, hey, Meta, what am I looking at right now? And it'll say, in fact, it does. It says you're looking at it's thinking. I'll tell you.
Workspace with various electronic devices, cables, and equipment. There's also a person visible on the screen in front of you.
A workspace with various cables and electronic devices and equipment. There's also a person on the screen in front of you. That's what it just told me. Now, these are getting better and better. Some students figured out a way to put face recognition technology on these. And that's a little scary. This is a service called PimEyes, is a face recognition technology. And these Harvard students were able to put PimEyes on their Meta glasses. And, well, let's face it, Mac on some poor woman on a subway by pulling up her docs. That is a scary, scary thought. This is something Google and others decided not to do for the long, but if you can get around it with the Meta glasses, it's just a matter of time. Are you guys worried about this kind of use of AI, face recognition, and things like that?
Never trust anyone wearing glasses. That's what it's going to come down to.
Oh, great. That's what I need to know.
So Robert and Roger are both wearing glasses in case you don't.
I mean, this is the thing. If you're in a public area, especially around something that tends to have a high audience,
you're probably already on camera, aren't you?
You're already on camera, and they do use software, maybe not AI, but they use pattern recognition to
I feel bad for your kids again. I'm feeling terrible for your kids, except for you, Robert. I don't feel bad for your kids, but I feel bad for your guys' kids because they're growing up in a world where everything is observed and recorded, right? There's nothing that's not on camera.
This also goes back to just having that healthy skepticism especially with interactions with strangers. And it's like, look, maybe they are using a tool like that. Maybe they do know things about you, and you're being approached for some reason. It seems like a rare event. It doesn't seem like something I don't think you have to walk around being afraid of 24/7, but some people might. And depending, especially if you're just in a position where you have information somebody wants, or somebody's trying to hit on you for some nefarious purpose. But
I mean, this is the thing. It already happens with people on their cell phones, right? Where do you think all these TikTok videos of people getting into a punch out at the Waffle House at 2 a.m. in the morning? It's, they don't need glasses to do that. And I think one of the things is we haven't, as a society, as a culture, sort of set up the barriers of what's considered appropriate and inappropriate for the technology. We're again still in that churn phase, in the same way that we've had for other technologies, right? Recording someone without their prior knowledge is a big no-no, right?
It's interesting because, and Joe in our Discord is mentioning this, nowadays, if you're hiring people, you're just going to have to assume that there are pictures of them drunk on Facebook, right? I mean, it's no longer
you don't have
disqualifying.
to assume. In some cases, yeah, I mean, in some cases,
but it's not disqualifying. Good luck hiring somebody who hasn't done that.
A drunk picture is one thing. Any of a number of unfortunate behaviors,
like wearing a kilt,
is something. It's
somebody wants to know if you're wearing a kilt right now, Patrick.
I am not wearing a kilt right now.
Have you worn a kilt since the screensavers?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh,
but I'm on a wooden chair. It's uncomfortable.
Utility
kilts.
Yeah.
But I mean,
we did an episode. Didn't we do an episode where we all wore kilts?
Everyone wore kilts. That was our going away present from a certain VP of content, who, as his going away present, told us to put everyone in kilts as his FU to the company that had bought us at the time.
Wasn't David Pogue one of the guests on that day?
I don't think so.
I think it might be. I'm just going to look, but I bet you it's on YouTube.
Tonight, Tom Hanks and Ron Howard bring Apollo 13.
Let me skip it.
Music
aired in January.
No, this is not. This
Screensaver's
is not the
logo, your desktop, and it's actually right here on the screensavers. If you scroll down,
this is not the kilt episode. Let me see if I could. There's a lot of kilts, but there's one where it was all
kiltage
kilts.
Episode.
Maximum kiltage, is that what it's called? The only thing I remember from that episode is you can't spin in a kilt because it goes right up like that.
You can. You just you may immediately regret the experience.
I want to see if I can find.
Don't take anything you plug into
video of that.
if you
it's
have
maximum
a
kiltage on YouTube.
DC5000 camera with the codec identifier KJC,
look how young we were,
followed by an
Patrick.
8-digit serial number.
I had hair.
Contact your dealer.
I'll tell you what, if you own one of these cameras, go to thescreensavers.com. We've got a link to fill.
You look exactly the same, Patrick.
No, I don't.
You have changed not a bit.
Killer camera.
Yeah, it's because I'm wearing a hat.
A killer camera.
And that is the temporary Tech TV, what was it, Tech Live news set that we were on there. Let me see if I can find I know I've seen this
picture with the basically all of our producers and on-air talent
in kilts.
All wearing the kilts, yeah.
Yeah. I know. Here it is. The maximum kiltage episode.
Coming up tonight, enter the future with the author of Exit Strategy, Douglas Rushkoff.
That's again Martin Sargent,
Use Google and
who I think is wearing a kilt
to create a visual graph of results. And should a man be allowed to wear a kilt on national television? Live from the TechTV studios in San Francisco, it's the Screensavers.
I'm going to skip this part because we've all seen this. Here we are. There's Kevin in a kilt.
Oh, my goodness.
Megan in a kilt.
Chafing.
There's Martin in a kilt.
Darcy, do you mind if we... What about the guy?
Darcy in a kilt.
She's got the hip hugger kilt. Camera? No, look at all the camera guys.
Oh, Javier.
This is really going on.
Steve Porter is not wearing a kilt. He's got pants on.
Are you a weirdo?
Steve Porter had dignity.
The reason we're doing this is Patrick, as you know, is known for his kilt and stopped wearing them. And we got lots of letters. There was a whole campaign. A kilt. Get that camera off the ground. Yeah. I am not working. Get back. There was a whole campaign. Now I know why girls cross their legs. There was a whole campaign.
I do believe later on I spin,
and we heard you.
And I think that they might have caught a little bit of something as I went out the door there. I'll leave that as an exercise for the rest of you.
How are there no affiliate links for making money on selling kilts?
Yeah, did we ever get ads for utility kilts? No, of course not.
Well, they didn't have enough money to buy ads.
That's why I said
you still wear 'em.
affiliate sales.
You get Brad on the line, will you? See what he could do. Get some
affiliate
placement.
sales don't really start until Wirecutter, right? I mean, you could argue that Wirecutter's success with affiliate sales is what made Google search so horrendous in the last few years.
You're talking about when you click that link, they get a percentage of the sale price. Yeah.
Well, before drones were popular, we had these like tiny little $30 remote control helicopters, and we did an episode of Dignation where we were trying to land them on the top of a beer can. And I created an Amazon affiliate link, and I think we sold like 20,000 little helicopters. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Holy cow!
Yeah, I mean at $13 each, I think we got like $1 each, but $1 times
$20,000.
There you go. Yeah,
that ain't bad.
Covers rent.
Yeah.
Going back to what you said about the AI facial recognition, I mean, I kind of like the fact that in general in a big city that CCTV covers most square blocks, so that if something bad happens, it's generally going to be available on camera. But I think on the facial recognition, it's really scary. But the cat is unfortunately out of the bag. Those databases persist, and you're not going to be able to hide them.
Yeah.
And it's just that you're going to have to. You're not as anonymous as you're going to as you used to be able to be. And that's
by the way, I'm looking on Wikipedia, and it turns out we did of the screensavers in San Francisco 1,375 episodes, Patrick. So this 1,000th twit, no big at all.
But that was 5 days a week.
That's true.
Yeah.
And overall, 1,483 episodes. They only did 107 in Los Angeles, but then they changed the name to Attack of the Show. So
you were talking about Kevin Pereira and interviewing Roger, right? Yeah. You were talking about interviewing him, and he and Gavin Purcell, who's actually kind of my boss at G4 for a hot minute, they have a show called AI for Humans.
Oh, yeah.
And it's actually quite good. They just go over everything with a little bit of a comedic bent. And I mean, I'll be honest, if I just scroll through their show notes, I generally have a decent idea of what's going on in the industry.
He was talking about, like, they do have an AI generated co-host / contributor to that show, which is hilarious. But he often they often go over some of the new technologies and some of the new AI services for creators. And so, it's definitely, a double-edged sword. For some people, I no longer will be able to make money doing this bit. But if you're a creator, you need some music and you want it in a certain, like a show tune, you hit up Udio, right? Like I want a theme song that sounds like Shaft, but maybe not exactly like Shaft. And it will generate, you throw in your lyrics, you get something pretty good. If you ever did, there's one for Dune the musical, which is hilarious.
Well, also when you listen to a lot of this stuff, I don't know if it's someone coined the term, but I always hear people referencing it. That's as bad as it'll ever be. Like if you use a tool and like when they
it's only going to get better.
Will Smith eating spaghetti, and it was a hilarious joke.
It was terrible at first.
Yeah, but if you look at it, but that's as bad as it'll ever be. And if you look at someone trying to recreate that now, you can't tell if it's a real video of Will Smith eating spaghetti or not.
The only real question is, will it continue to get better at the same rate, or is it going to plateau off?
And that's where the power generation comes in, right? Because a lot of these AI models require a lot of computational power.
And money. Sam Altman says $7 trillion to build the next generation of chips needed to make super
we talked about this on Friday's DTNS with Molly Wood, and she was talking about how at Climate Week in New York City, one of the big conversations that everyone was having was how big tech companies were kind of planning out power stations, power generation to power their data centers, because the needs are just going to keep growing exponentially unless like generative AI doesn't take off and it's a huge boondoggle, which is highly unlikely.
So I noticed that Kevin is doing this show on YouTube. Is that, if you were going to create a new screensavers, you would probably do it there, right? You wouldn't do it on a television network anymore.
It would be one.
I mean, you can't really do a screensavers on YouTube because YouTube only wants a single subject per segment, right? It hates
SEO is
covering
not
multiple
good.
things. The SEO is a nightmare. Ask me how I know. The SEO for multiple subjects in a single segment is problematic.
Patrick, you were on it. We did the new screensavers on TWiT, but it didn't do very well. Yeah.
I mean, it
is better to make short content that is focused onto one particular subject.
Yeah. Terrible at that.
And
long. I mean,
you see that influencing content
videos.
creators too.
Yeah. I mean, I have friends who no longer do any long form content, and it's all shorts because they can generate the same amount of revenue for a 2-minute video that they can for a 15-minute video.
Do people not want to see long stuff anymore?
There's a ton of long stuff. We would have killed.
Movies seem to be getting longer.
But I mean, YouTube, there's tons of 30, 40 minutes. There's even a whole segment of YouTube where people talk for like 3.5 hours straight on one subject.
Who would do that?
I think part of it is a lot of the creators I followed no longer rely on their YouTube channels as a prime source of revenue. They use it as a way to host their content, a way to grab eyeballs, but they direct people to their Patreon or whatever else that they're using to make up a majority of their. You still need YouTube because it is a free seat and it's a free movie theater for people to go watch your content. But do not expect to make the kind.
People are on YouTube.
But do not expect it to be the kind of cash cow it was even 5 years ago, because that boat is long since sailed away. But it is an important aggregator of eyeballs, and from there you can direct, hey, support, you love our content. You see this at least in all the shows I watch or channels I watch. Love our content, support us on Patreon, and they give out their address. So, even if you have a 10% conversion or on that, and you get 100,000 views, that's still a decent 10,000 people. That's still a decent chunk of people that you convert, even if they're like $1 a month subscribers to Patreon or supporters on Patreon. That helps out a lot. And if you can get them to raise awareness of your content to their friends and family, it's really just, I mean, they hate this word so much because it's so overused, but you kind of have to hustle to get that audience in as many places as you can. But
is that what you do at DTNS? What is the secret? Because Tom's done very well with DTNS, obviously.
DTNS is. We're on Twitch. We're on YouTube. We have our Patreon feeds. We're on Acast. We try to be in as many places that makes sense for us.
And all the revenue though is from listener support, right?
Well, I would say a majority of our support.
Do you have ads?
Our Patreon level is clear of ads. We do Acast, which inserts it, but that's free. That is the free tier.
Somebody told me we do direct ad insertion as well through Libsyn, and they said that's the best reason to join the club because the inserted ads are so awful that I want to join the club to get the ad-free version. That's not our intent, by the way. We're not trying to.
It's a nice side effect.
Make it awful.
Well, the key is to make it available to as many people who want to listen or watch.
I like the idea of having a free tier. I do. I really think that's important.
Patrick and I know this. Trying to build an audience is like trying to juggle Jello, right? You're just going to constantly it's going to run through your frame. It is. I
got a great insight from our producer Benita, who's listening right now, who said if you're going to start something today, you better start it somewhere it can go viral, somewhere where there is an algorithm that you can catch. Because that's the only Twit only exists because we were on TechTV, right? And we got promoted there and we were able to catch that wave a little bit. My son, you could make cooking videos till the cows come home, but because TikTok picked up the videos and started promoting them, he was able to build an audience there, then take that audience to Instagram and on and on. If you're going to start something today, you better have there better be an algorithm and it better promote you, right? Otherwise, there is no discovery. There's too many channels.
There's too many channels.
Go ahead.
Go ahead,
Part of it, there's been one of the most fascinating things to watch over the pandemic was how many people started a podcast, started a video, started doing TikTok videos, and the amount of, there's been the amount of advertising, there's basically the reason all these websites have died and been bought up by holding companies is because banner ads died, and the amount of money being invested in podcast is both, if you're not a very special interest podcast that has advertising interest, it's much thinner and it's spread much farther. There's less advertising being done. It's being spread much thinner. And Benito's right? You need something that's going to multiply you. Then you need to figure out how to get it, and then you need to figure out a way to monetize it, because
Henry never made any money off TikTok.
I don't think
2.5 million followers,
very few people have made. Yeah, that's huge, right? But you're not going to monetize. But it's like, it's not as bad as Facebook, where 90% of the ad revenue that came into Facebook stayed inside of Facebook. At least in the case of YouTube, it was like half the ad revenue that came into Facebook stayed inside of Facebook or YouTube. But TikTok, there's never been a huge amount of revenue.
The elephant in the room is this: the ad market is drastically changed than what it was 4 or 5 years ago, pre-pandemic, and a lot of creators have realized that what worked 5 years ago does not work if you want to stay in business, and so you cannot rely solely on a single channel. You can't rely solely on TikTok. You can't rely solely on YouTube Shorts. Can't rely solely on Reel. You have to be in as many places as you can, because your audience is all in so many of those different places. I would be great if you could kind of narrow down to the one platform. Everyone's on YouTube. Let's just do YouTube only. But unfortunately, that's not the reality.
Let's take a little break. When we come back, I'm going to ask you guys about your current tech situation. We have the originals, the guys who are on episode 0 and episodes 1 of this now 1,000 episode show, This Week in Tech. It's great to see you all again. Roger Chang and David Prager, Robert Heron, Patrick Norton. And thanks to all of you who are watching today. We appreciate it live and after the fact. Our show today brought to you by, as it has been for quite some time now, Bitwarden, the best password manager out there. And it's the one I use, and I have to say, it's the one I prefer because it's open source. And to me, it's so important, especially any product that uses cryptography, as a good password manager does. It's got to be open source so that they're doing the crypto right and that nobody has a backdoor. That's Bitwarden. It's a password manager that is cost effective and can dramatically improve your chances of staying safe online. Now more than ever, you need Bitwarden. Now, I'm going to assume anybody who's watching this show is tech savvy enough to have a password manager. But I bet you also that almost all of you have friends and family who won't, who say, no, I just use the same password everywhere. And you and I know they are cruising for disaster. The holidays are approaching. We've got Prime Days this next week. Then there's going to be Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and that is bringing out the bad guys in droves with phishing sites that spoof your favorite shopping site, that will get your credit card information, that will get your passwords. That's why you need Bitwarden. Bitwarden has just expanded the inline autofill capabilities within the Bitwarden browser to not just include passwords, but also autofill cards, identities, and passkeys. And that's a really good thing, because the way Bitwarden works, you cannot put that stuff on a spoofed site. It only works if you're on the real deal. Bitwarden protects you from accidentally giving out that information. Now more than ever, your family needs it. It enables a more secure interaction with web forms for payment details, for contact info, for addresses, and more. And it will help your family stop using the same password over and over. It'll help them generate long, strong passwords everywhere they go. Bitwarden allows you to store all your documents in it too. I keep my passport in there, my driver's license, my social security, because it's encrypted, it's safe, it's strong. And it's free forever for individuals because it's open source. And in fact, if you really don't trust anybody, some people don't, you can store your password vault locally and make it available everywhere. The free version includes iOS, Android, Mac, Windows, Linux. Everywhere you go, your passwords, your pass keys go with you. And if you use Bitwarden at work, you will love their unparalleled SSO integration. You can quickly and easily safeguard all the business logins using your single sign-on security policies. Fully compatible with SAML 2.0 and OIDC, Bitwarden ensures smooth integration with whatever solutions you're using today. Thousands of businesses, including some of the world's largest organizations, trust Bitwarden to protect their online information. And because it's open source, that means its code can be inspected by anyone, is regularly audited by the experts, and Bitwarden is always growing because of new contributions to the Bitwarden code base. It's very exciting. Switching to Bitwarden is easy. It just takes a minute or two. They support importing from most password management solutions. I had no trouble moving from my old password solution to Bitwarden. It was completely seamless, and I've been using it happily ever since. Look, I know you're using a good password manager. If you're not, use Bitwarden. I also know your friends, your family, your work maybe are not using a good password manager. Help them make the switch to Bitwarden. Get started with Bitwarden's free trial of a Teams or Enterprise plan, or get started for free across all devices, unlimited passwords, passkeys, and hardware keys too as an individual user, free forever. Bitwarden.com/twit. Bitwarden.com/twit. This is one I can very happily recommend and encourage you to use. Steve Gibson switched. I switched. We've been using Bitwarden for several years now. Very, very happy. Thank you, Bitwarden, for your support. Wizardling in our Discord says it's the most worthwhile subscription I pay, which is the more impressive given how little it costs. Yeah, you don't have to pay anything. I pay for a premium plan. It's $10 a year, but I do that mostly because I just want to support them. We're talking to the OGs, the original Twits, Patrick Norton, Robert Heron, David Prager, Roger Chang. So what's technology are you guys excited about? Patrick, what are you excited about these days? Or do you even still have the same passion for technology you did back in the screensavers days?
Yes, / it's different. I'm still blown away. One of the things that continues to blow me away is the quality of the cameras that are in phones. And, every couple of years when I'm like, I can't get that much better, something comes out and I'm just like, wow, it got that much better.
And when you have kids, it's really nice to have a great camera always with you, right?
Yeah, I take entirely too many photos of my kids.
They got to the point, as my kids did, where they go, Dad, stop, no. And I am fairly most of my pictures after a certain age, they're awful because they're going, no.
But most of the time it's pretty chill. Nice. Occasionally I'll get that. But the watching like low light performance on camera still gets me really excited. The quality of audio gear for fundamentally no money is amazing. I've replaced
a hugely expensive studio with basically consumer gear, and it looks better than the old studio stuff did.
I think Roger and I were talking, like, I've got a Blackmagic ATEM, mini.
Me too, right here, yeah.
I'm sitting there, and not only is it, right, because it was like $5 million to build the TechTV studio. It was like $50,000 and another $50,000 in cameras to build the DLTV studio. Although it was like a $5,000 box, right, was at the core of that.
What did you use for that?
The original TriCaster.
Yeah. Yes, so do we.
In beta, we helped them diagnose the problems of the initial series of boards, which we
never stopped helping them do that. By the way,
once they got the BGA, I think it was BGA. Basically, the chips weren't properly soldered on the board. But once that was sorted, it was pretty reliable. Yeah. But I laughed because if it crashed, it was like an 8-minute reboot.
It was a Windows
the
machine.
ATEM Mini Pro, the ATEM Mini Pro or the ATEM Mini ISO, like it crashes. I yank the power out of the back, plug it back in, and it reboots in like 18 seconds.
Yep.
The TriCaster, I think, would have worked better if they had not used a shuttle style PC case because those things get super hot inside.
Yeah.
The later ones were massive, big.
Well, they moved into the same market that Grass Valley, Edius, and a few other video switchers.
I am blown away, though, by what consumer level. I've got a Rodecaster mixer that can do more than any mixer I've ever used. I've got the ATEM. I have the Mini Extreme, so it's an 8-camera switcher. We're using Zoom ISO for this and Ecamm. I mean, consumer-grade software, and we're doing stuff we could only dream about on Tech TV.
I mean, in many ways, remember. I mean, in many ways, it's kind of like the way desktop publishing and laser printers kind of just made.
That's why there's so much content. Do you think that's why there's so much content? Anybody can do it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, all content's not the same quality, right? I have seen some really well shot 35-minute, a great way to kill a few hours, and other ones that are just like unwatchable. But they used a lot of great equipment and drone shots because they spent money on it and have to show you that they can swoop through someone's house.
There is something to be said for talent. Not that I have any, but there is something to be said for talent. The people who are really good at it are. It will work regardless of the quality of their gear. Gear does not. That's true with photography too, right?
Patrick was talking about the quality of the phone cameras, and I don't have an Apple Vision Pro, but if my daughter's doing something exceptionally interesting, like when she started walking, she was walking on the beach, and I shoot it in spatial video.
Oh, smart!
Because I'm afraid that maybe if I don't shoot it in spatial video, I won't have it in that kind of quality.
Even 20 years from now,
I can't
go, Dad, you shot that in 2D. What's wrong with you, Dad?
Yeah, but I'm consciously not an owner of an Apple Vision Pro. I'm impressed with it, and I think there's going to be a place for some of that type of heads-up display stuff. But I kind of feel like I'm going to get in on like version 3 or 4.
I've been the number one skeptic for it because having owned every one of those VR headsets right up to that point, and including buying a Vision Pro and returning it, I don't think people want to strap a computer to their face.
Well, and that's the big kind of friction point, right? Do you want to wear something on your head in a way? I'll be honest. Even if it was like strapping, a down pillow to your head, you still got to strap it to your head, and there is a physical kind of disconnect that people just might not be into. People want the holodeck from Star Trek. They want to walk into a room and it look like Yosemite Valley or Disney. I bet Robert would agree with me.
I think you have pretty good VR if you have a nice big screen. I have a 77-inch Samsung QD OLED with a great surround system. I'm sitting 6 feet away from it, so it's virtually immersion. It's not strapped to my face, but I'm immersed, and I'm watching a great Blu-ray UHD DVD. That's VR, and it's damn fine. I think it looks great. And it doesn't go with my face when I turn my head, but I don't want it to.
I agree with the devices themselves not being the best in terms of form factors. It would be great if it were something like contact lenses or eye caps. But
someday that'll happen, but that's way off, right?
But when this show started, even going back a few years prior to that at Tech TV, it was 42-inch plasma displays. And today we have stuff like your 77-inch quantum dot OLED that is 10 times brighter, has more realistic color, is a thinner display and more energy efficient,
and doesn't burn in. And do you remember we bought 42-inch plasmas for the studio for Hawthorne, right?
Like $17,000 back in the day, or more.
Yeah, and it was $10,000, and it was burnt in the first 6 months, right?
Totally. So that's all changed quite a bit. Home theater is, one of my specialties. So I focus a lot on display systems, and seeing where that's going in the next few years still excites me. I am still thrilled, and going to trade shows like Society of Information Displays, and seeing the people who are working on the next gen tech, that gets me going.
It's interesting though. Movies just don't work anymore because people have good theater systems at home, right?
There is something to be said though for Dolby Vision cinemas, or Dolby cinema period, and IMAX display systems.
I went to see Oppenheimer in IMAX just because I wanted to. But you know what?
That is a spectacle.
It is. That's the problem. It distracts from the actual content because it's a spectacle.
However, if maybe the budget in your life can't afford the latest and greatest in home theater gear, going to a Dolby Cinema theater though is going to present you with state-of-the-art twin $250,000 laser projectors, amazing contrast and color performance that exceeds pretty much everything you can do in the home right now, in addition to just amazing audio. So,
does everybody here still go to movies? I haven't been to a movie.
I have not been to one since.
I say that, and yeah, I'm more of the homebody on that.
The last one I went to was Oppenheimer as well in the IMAX. That's the last
one I went to, just because I wanted to see that. And actually, I liked it better at home. So,
and I think the last one I watched was Godzilla, the King of the Monsters, because I wanted like the whole boom boom with the noise. But after that, I was like, yeah. I mean, to be honest, when you had kids, you can either watch the movie really early before everyone's awake, or you watch it really late after everyone's asleep.
Right.
And neither.
That's what Vision Pro is good for, by the way. The people I know who actually still use and like their Vision Pro, they watch movies in bed at night, so they don't wake up their spouse.
But they could have bought something that costs an order of magnitude less and had 98% of the same experience. I mean,
what
there are also more expensive devices that are doing impressive VR experiences, but with even larger things you have to strap onto your head. And
I think a good movie or a good display is VR. The music arouses your emotions. The pictures get your brain engaged. You are a good movie. You are immersed in it, aren't you?
Yes, and unfortunately, there are precious few movies that have come out that really engage me in that level of verisimilitude, where you're like totally enwrapped. Most of the time, I'm not gonna lie, I just fast forward. It's like exposition, obvious plot point, character turn.
We started watching the new George Clooney, Brad Pitt vehicle.
No Wolves. Star vehicles. I am so sick of star vehicles.
Well, and Apple TV spent $100 million, and they were going to put this in theaters, and they realized this is going to be egg on our face when this bombs in the theater, because so many movies now are bombing. No, it's not a bad movie, although. So Lisa and I started watching last night. About an hour in, we went to bed. But that's the difference, is we know we can watch the rest of it tonight if we wanted to.
But the same compelling reason people used to go to the movie theater. I wrote about this a while back. Going to the movie theater with friends or after dinner with a date or whatever is kind of like the same reason why I used to go to the bowling alley like on Thursday nights with coworkers. Like that whole thing, like the people's tastes have changed. It's not the same appeal as it was.
We still have one bowling alley in Petaluma if you ever want to go bowling.
I'm in a bowling league.
Are you really?
Tomorrow night.
Oh, nice. I used to hit the before it became Amoebas, the bowling alley over on Haight.
Oh,
I used to hit every
Rock
weekend.
and Bowl.
Yeah. And then like after a while, people was like, I'm at a different stage in my life.
That was they played loud rock music and they'd have fluorescent pins and black
you could
lights.
bowl as much as you want for like $10.
I do want effective VR, though, for experiences like with Microsoft's Flight Simulator that provides almost photorealistic quality nowadays.
Sure.
And to be able just to move your head around rather than have to use a mouse to move
that might
viewport.
Be one, because you want to look out
Get
each
a
window.
Paraglider,
totally.
Strap yourself to a chute and have a motor on your back, and you'll see it in real life.
There you go.
I'm not saying that it doesn't work. We had I stupidly bought the MetaQuest Pro, the $1,400, which they've since discontinued. But there's a game where you have a plank. You go up an elevator and you're in a building and there's a plank that's out over the street and you're 100 feet up. And it is damn hard to walk out that door over that plank over the street. I mean, it's like your body thinks you're about to die.
That's good. That means that part of your brain still works, right? If you were fearless and you did it, you'd be a great trapeze artist.
No, see, this is why I love you, Roger.
I mean, there are certain attributes to the human psyche that exist for a reason, right? We're afraid of snakes, we're afraid of heights, and we're afraid of things that burn.
It keeps us alive.
From us. Yeah,
keeps us alive. So, what about you, David Prager? What technology are you in love with, or have you lost your desire?
No, well, I was going to say before we even started the show, I was going to say that I spent a large part of my career, yes, as just a producer, but also just as a tech journalist and a pundit. And I was about to say, coming on here, like, I wonder how rusty I am because I keep up with everything, but I'm not in the business of discourse around it. And so I was always going to give myself a caveat, almost like imposter syndrome of, am I going to be able to have worthwhile cutting edge commentary based on the things that we're covering? Although I kind of feel like yes, because I'm just immersed in it. And I'd say if anything, what I try to keep up with the most is just really AI trends. And that's almost like just fear of falling behind. I want to make sure I know everything I can do to make me as productive as possible. But it's also, at times it makes you, it's not, I don't know. I'm a fan again of all the AI tools and what we can do. But, at the same time, I don't know if it keeps me up at night, but I want to make sure I have a clear understanding of everything that's possible.
No, I'm with you. In fact, I feel like AI could be, not necessarily will be, but could be the next huge revolution. And I don't want to miss it. At the same time, I think there's also a good chance that AI could be a complete flop, and that we'll look back on this and go, "Yeah, we got sold another crypto."
I don't think we're like you kept talking about this a singularity. I can tell that at least my naive thought is that I don't think we're going to get in any kind of sentience, but we still run the risk of worrying about the paperclip experiment, where everything. And that's not because the robots want to take over the world. It's like you programmed it so well to be so good at one task.
Followed the rules.
That followed the rule. And if the humans are getting in the way of making paper clips, then we might as well eliminate, that hurdle.
That's the existential threat. And giving it nuclear weapons. Roger, go ahead.
Well, there are undoubtedly going to be jobs that spring out of generative AI industries. One of them is fact-checking AI to make sure it's not giving you weird, bogus information.
Yeah.
And then I've said this before. I've had to fact-check AI because sometimes it sounds really good, but you know what? Not factually correct. The other one is that it's going to free up people to do other things, but, and here's the huge but, you're going to have to go through this kind of churn where before it was people moving from off the farms, off agriculture into factories, and then from factories into offices, and then offices at work at home. And there's a disconnect. And I think one of the things that needs to be addressed is how do you make that transition less painful for people who might have been, I've been a copy editor for 40 years of my life. Now what am I going to do?
What does your wife think about the future of copy editing?
She's both amazed, but she's also like, some of this is garbage. Right. Some of this, these edits don't work.
Very few publications still have copy editors. I mean, that's a luxury.
Very few publications exist anymore. And the ones that do,
they're all gone. And non-tech is gone. iMore just folded its doors.
But it's there's very few. Having watched, like magazines are the one thing I wanted to do when a kid. I want to write for magazines. I've loved magazines my entire life. But that industry.
What's a magazine, Daddy?
Oh, God, don't even start. What's the Berlin Wall, Daddy? What was life before the internet was like when you wrote dinosaurs?
I want to read The Atlantic online. I want to read The New Republic online. I want to read these magazines online. They insist on sending you a paper copy.
Because the infrastructure is already there. It probably
right. But don't kill trees. I will read this online. I'm never going to read the paper
There may
magazine.
be, I suspect there may be advertising sales advantages to killing trees. In other cases, there's not, right? Because the other thing is, like, every organization is flinging every possible revenue generating idea against a wall in order to stay around, right?
That's right.
But
I know we are.
And that's just the nature of the beast right now. But the whole. It's, we're in this huge transitional phase. But going back to what, you and Roger were talking about, it's amazing what Grammarly can do. Yeah. It's also really hysterical when Grammarly's wrong. Or, I know Roger's seen it where I remember, like, somebody put something together and they asked me to read it. And I was like, this is fantastic. It's tight. It's authoritative. The copy moves. And it's 100% factually wrong.
It's funny, if you think about it, humans are also often factually wrong. Why would we expect AIs to be better?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, a lot
they have the entire internet to work for. Or work from.
I do not, and I bet you guys are the same. I will not ask some unknown person on the street for directions somewhere because I know half the time they're going to send me the wrong way.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I will ask an AI.
A difference between like using Waze or Google Maps.
Yeah.
It's like Waze is great for certain things. Google Maps is if I need to get to this address.
Yeah. I just need to know where the address is relative to my location.
And nobody has a Thompson guide in their back seat that they can flip through to find the address anymore.
Some of us still carry paper maps.
Patrick.
I mean, like Delorme Gazettes, like, gazetteers. There's parts of the country where, you can't get a cell phone signal, or you can't get decent directions.
Many others.
You get far enough off the reservation, there is nobody. There's no one to ask. There's no cell phone signal. And if you need to find something, or if you need to get back to a highway, if you don't have a paper map, you're going to have a wonderful experience turning right over and over again until you find something.
That's where the Starlink ad slowly plays. If
you're not caching your maps before you get too rustic.
Hey, we all remember, and a tip of the hat to James Kim, who did follow a I don't know if it was Google Maps or some other map off the road and lost his life. One of our lab rats.
I mean, I will say it's always good to have a passive backup, right? Paper's not going to really put you out in terms of space. And when you need it, you don't need batteries, right? You just need a source of light. And you need to be able
actual maps in your car, Roger.
I used to carry one for the state of California. Ever since my car got pilfered, I think the guy who took my old TomTom GPS device also took the paper map. But maybe because it was in the same compartment where they were both stored, then they just grabbed the whole thing.
Hey, what's this? This looks interesting. It's an artifact.
Hey, you know what? When it's a smash and grab, they just take everything and then they sort it out later.
What technologies are you excited about, Roger?
Generative AI is one of them, but also refurbed equipment. I ever since I found out that you can get like relatively, decent spec equipment that was like, enterprise hardware or workstation hardware for like $400, and it still has a 90-day warranty on it. Awesome. I use Dell refurbished. I got this 24-inch 4K monitor for like $100-something 5-6 years ago. I don't know. There's something about a deal that doesn't go away from me as I get older.
The king of refurb, Roger Chang, ladies and gentlemen.
An open box.
I mean,
Robert Heron, you got to be excited about something going on in video, or maybe not. What is it? What technology excites you these days?
For me, it's just getting my head and keeping up with the things that are most useful for me. And
so you still have a passion for it, you think?
I do, for technology in general, but especially for things that can improve the life or the quality of a learning experience. Or I even think of like my current phone service that I use. It's a Google phone on a Google phone service plan, and its assistant AI for call screening has a voice and a cadence to it that is remarkably real. And it fools most people that call me and don't have like the direct access. And it asks follow-up questions, and it does a fantastic job. And lately for me, I actually subscribed to ChatGPT now. That was just something I did in the last month after using the free service for quite a while. And as a research tool, it automatically provides all the links to everywhere it found that data, allowing you to alleviate some of the concerns about where did this information come from, and can you double check it. And I think for a lot of people, that's a good place to start. There's so much change going on in the world, but just for the learning capabilities and the ability to do your own research, and like having somebody with the knowledge of Wikipedia in your pocket that you can now talk to and have conversations with. Yeah. There's a lot going on there.
That's really amazing. All right, we're going to take one last break, and then I'm going to let you guys go. I appreciate it. You're sticking around for Roger. I emailed Roger. He said it's for 3 hours. I said, yeah, it's 3 hours. He said, really? No, we're going to get out of here.
Be glad this isn't a Lex Friedman podcast. He goes like 5 hours.
He must have buns of steel or something.
And Joe Rogan, I look at these people and I go, how do they get people to listen to all 5 hours?
Joe Rogan's technique is this: you do the long podcast and you chop everything up into little sound bites, and then you release those separately.
We've been doing that lately. Yeah.
Gee, I listen to podcasts. I listen to so many hours of podcasts a week, and almost all of it is at 1.5, where I listen to NPR in the car occasionally. I'm like, why are they talking so slow?
We used to have people come to the studio and they say, you sound drunk. I say, well, that's because you listen to 1.5, don't you? And they said, yeah. Anyway, let's take a little break, and we'll have a final thought with our wonderful crew for our 1000th episode. And you know who I really owe thank you to? All of you who listen to the shows and have listened, many of you, to all 1,000 episodes. We couldn't do it without you. So thank you so much for listening for all this time. I think we all feel very lucky to be able to do what we do. Our show today brought to you by NetSuite. So we've been asking the question, what does the future hold, from our panelists this week? What does the future hold for business? You ask 9 experts, you're going to get 10 answers. Rates are going to go up. Rates are going to go down. Inflation's going to go up. Inflation's going to go down. Can somebody please invent a crystal ball, some way of knowing? Until then, over 38,000 businesses have done one thing to future-proof their business with NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud ERP, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, HR, all into one fluid platform. That's nice. When it's all there in one unified business management suite, there's one source of truth. You got the visibility and control you need to make quick decisions. It's all there right in front of you with real-time insights and forecasting. You've got a crystal ball. You're peering into the future with actionable data. And when you're closing books in days, not weeks, when you're spending less time looking backwards and more time on what's next, if I had needed this product, it's what I'd use. You know what? It makes me want to use it. I think you should be using it. We don't really need an ERP solution here. We're kind of too small for that, but I bet you could use it. By the way, speaking of opportunity, even if you can't, I think you might want to download the CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning. We've been talking about that during the show. I know everybody's got lots of questions. There are some very specific questions for businesses. The CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning is available right now. netsuite.com/twit. It's absolutely free. So check it out. Check out NetSuite while you're there. Get the free publication. It's netsuite.com/twit. We thank NetSuite so much. They've been a big supporter of our shows for years now. We thank you for supporting us by going to that address, letting them know you heard it here. netsuite.com/twit. Thank you, NetSuite. And a big thank you to our wonderful group. People I've known now for 20 years, more than 20 years in many cases. When did you start at TechTV or ZDTV, Robert Heron? Were you in the lab to begin with, or were you an intern also?
I was a PA on your show, Call for Help. That's where I got my start. Henry Kaiser brought me on, and through a friend, Jeff Nickerson. He was the one who put in the good work for me. And
I miss these guys. I want to go to this picnic. It's Saturday?
Yes, I'm almost 100% sure it's Saturday, not Sunday.
I will check it out. If it's Sunday, I'm working.
11 to 6 p.m. Apparently, they're going to be doing up weenies and hot dogs and
in the Bay Area,
in Golden Gate Park.
Nice.
I'll send you a link.
Would you send me a link, please? Yeah, I would like to see you. I'd like to give you a hug. Robert, it's been a pleasure working with you for all these years. I loved doing Call for Help. That was so much fun.
It was awesome.
It was so weird because they asked me, they said, well, at first they weren't interested in me. And then they realized, good Lord, we're going to have to fill 24 hours with content. And they said, Leo, how long's your radio show? I said, well, it's 3 hours. They said, do you think you could do 2 shows a day? I said, absolutely. It's just a radio show. And so, but we had to distinguish the two because we was doing the screensavers with Patrick, and I wore shirts like this, kind of crazy shirts. And then I would put on a button-down shirt and a sweater vest for Call for Help. The idea being it's two different people. It's two different people. It's conservative Leo and it's crazy Leo. But it was so much fun getting to do those shows. And it was funny because I know
wonderful time and place.
I know the ZDTV people thought, we're just going to do this until we get enough content, and then we're going to get rid of this clown. They thought, Internet Tonight, they thought that's going to be the hit. We got a comic, we got writers, it's going to be a huge hit. And what did people want to see? They wanted to see me and Patrick answering questions, putting Linux on a machine, Patrick using a sledgehammer. You will always be remembered for that sledgehammer, Patrick. Always.
You guys anchored a bunch of wonderful content.
It's reasonable.
And I'll never forget, Patrick, the first time you appeared, it was on Call for Help, You were terrified.
The first time I was recorded was discussing Windows 98 before like a spring Comdex or something.
Oh my God.
I was physically shaking.
You were. I could see you like a leaf trembling.
It was terrifying. The only thing less natural than making television is dating.
It's about as bad, isn't it?
But you the
got
first
very
1,000 hours
comfortable.
is hard. After that,
very
it's
comfortable,
easy.
and you got beloved. I must say, it's such a nice thing to see you. All my love to your family. Do you still have the RV in the backyard?
Not in the backyard, but we still have the RV.
So you could take off at any time.
If I wanted to be divorced, sure.
Well, blessings to you both, and it's great to see you, and to your beautiful children. Same to you, David Prager, 2-year-old Prager.
Yeah. Nice. I know.
I'm so happy for. I saw you got married to a beautiful woman. She's Norwegian.
She's Norwegian. She's a documentary filmmaker, but she's got entrepreneurial aspirations. She's going to build a community around tinned fish and do importing of seafood and other Scandinavian.
It's all the rage. You come up here to Petaluma. We got a seafood restaurant called the Shuckery, and they call it conservas, and it's tinned seafood, and they serve it with like little crackers and stuff, and it's like $30. And it's incredible. And it's a lot of it's from Norway. It's incredible. This is a whole menu item for these guys.
She's gonna start to build a community around just distributing content about sustainability, about the food itself, about how to get it, where to get it. And then it might segue into consumer packaged goods, but it depends on how well we build the community. And we kind of do it all out in the open. It's like building your startup or building your company in the public realm, public domain.
I'll see you in the grocery store because my son has convinced me to be his backer, his chief investor in his pickle company. And so I will see you. Okay. We'll probably be right next to the tinned fish. I will see you in the grocery store. David, it's great to see you. What's your daughter's name?
Yeah.
What's your daughter's name?
Amelia with an E.
Aww.
Oh, it's Amelia with an E. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, well, give Amelia a big smooch and thank her for letting us have Daddy for a couple of hours. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Thanks. That was great to be back. It's been a while.
Oh, it's nice to see you. Roger Chang, same. You guys are doing so great at DTNS. You and Sarah and Tom and Molly and the whole gang. I'm really proud of you. Just doing great work. And I'm glad to see you gainfully employed with an actual family. I would have never thought it.
Yes, my family is also very, very proud that
I love to tease you, Roger. And you know what the name of this show is going to be? Your Drunk Uncle Coach.
Oh, huh.
So you get to name the show.
That sounds like you know what? I think that's a good idea.
Love you, Roger. It's great to see you. Of course, you started at a Call for Help as well.
I started as an intern for both shows. I did Screensavers and Call for Help. And then Renee Riccio hired me after the summer of 1998, and I became the official PA for both shows.
Nice.
So,
David, how did you were a producer, right, at Screensavers?
So Roger got promoted, and then so I decided I wanted to work for ZDTV, and I could have made a mistake, but I sent a letter to most of the executives saying, here's who I am, here's what I can do, here's what I love about the network, and if you don't hire me, you'll be missing out on these skill sets that this skill set that I have. And for some reason
it worked.
Ironically, so Jim Louderback thought it was good, and he sent it to Ken Marcus, and then I flew out, did a couple interviews, and started on November 3rd, 1999. So
wow,
it was a weird time. I got interviewed by Lucia first for the web team, but she was very skeptical of me. But Ken Marcus sat right across from her. It's like, you want to work for me? I said, sure. And I did a 3-month intern stint, and then a spot opened up, and Renee said, can you fill the spot? It's like, sure. I was
did he ask you to keep the chapstick handy for?
No, all I remember most from Ken was at the time he was very fond of that little oatmeal puck and apple juice in the morning.
That's when, by the way, I knew the TechTV was going to be sold. Is when they stopped putting oatmeal in the snack room.
I lived on that for 2 months, and the Lipton soup, the little packages.
And they said it's some weird cost cutting maneuver. They said no more oatmeal for you. I thought this is not good. They're trying to turn a profit. They're trying to convince somebody to buy them.
Well, I remember when Paul Allen was coming through the office, and we used to do a geek library, and it was a movie about Revenge of the Nerd. No, what was it? It was a book. It was a movie that he was in, and I was going through clips of the movie that we.
Revenge of the Nerds.
Okay, well, it was that, yeah. And I was looking through clips for the show to run on the Geek Library segment on the screensavers when Paul Allen walks by, and I for some reason didn't know what to say to him other than nice beard.
Triumph of the Nerds. It was Triumph of the
Nerd. Yeah. And then
nice
I remember
beard. You said
nice beard. Yes.
Nice beard.
Here's why. I was looking at him on the screen, and he was watching me watch him. And I looked at that, and he had this huge beard, and I looked at him, and he had it. And I'm like, nice beard. I thought it was funny, but also I didn't know what else to say. And he did one of those handshakes. I have no disrespect to Paul, but he did one of those handshakes where it's the limp handshake.
It was the limpest, wettest, saddest. Not looking. I get that. I get that the man was like had social anxiety and any number of other things, but it was one of the most surreal experiences I ever had, where it was like one of the execs, the president, the founding president, was introducing him to me, and I'm like, okay, I'm the dog in the Dog and Pony show, and it was like the held two fingers, didn't look me in the eye, and I was just like, wow, I feel really part of the team here. And it was a couple of years before I realized it had nothing to do with me. It was just how the man interacted. I think this is
right before Paul Allen bought the network, and then right before he sold it. I remember Joe Gillespie telling the story about him holding his wallet up and said, "It's not getting any thicker." And yelled this to Joe Gillespie.
He lost almost $500 million on TechTV.
Having talked to a bunch of execs after the whole thing, TechTV was actually on a pretty good trajectory wise. It's just you had to appreciate how cable networks worked, so you weren't alarmed by what was happening.
There's a famous anecdote when who was this? Our first program director left. The hipster, I can't remember his name.
Drebin?
Yeah, Greg Drebin left.
Oh, and then Greg came.
And then we got the other Greg came.
Oh yeah, no, Greg
Brannon. Greg Brannon.
He was great.
He was awesome.
Sweet guy, not super competent. Anyway, Drebin was a brilliant programmer, but Brannon, he was kind of just, I think it was a holding pattern, right, until they could sell the thing. But he got called up to Seattle with the other executives to meet with Paul Allen. And Paul Allen asked Brannon, when are you going to do a show for people like me? And Brannon said, never. And I'm convinced that was when it was the end. Because
they did a show for him.
Yeah, it was called Tech Live.
It was
the music show. No, the music. Well, Tech Live, there was a lot of money. He wanted to do that.
Yeah, but that was a direct, at least from my understanding.
Yeah.
Direct, I want something like this on our network.
Well, he was told that MSNBC was the most profitable part of NBC, so they built 4.5 hours of programming a day
and $1 million
to feed
set.
this audience 5 minutes.
But they also wanted to cover the stock market. Sorry, I didn't. They covered the stock market, but only the tech stocks, which is obviously the cornerstone of the market value right now. But you got to cover all of it. So that was kind of a weird. I mean, yes, we were Tech TV, but they carved out a niche even in the finance world, which didn't make sense to me anyway.
It wasn't brilliant, but on the other hand, it's tough to do a cable network now. It was tough then. They had a good time for 6 years.
I do love that what the screensavers became, which is Attack of the Show. Joshua Brentano, I got to give him huge credit. The very last thing, but the last thing that happened on the last episode of that show was you guys, Patrick and Leo, waking up from a bad dream and then taking off with your rocket packs to go do another show.
The Bob Newhart episode.
Yeah, it was so good.
All right, I think that's a suitable thing to end with. God bless Joshua for putting that in there. Let me see if I can find that because I'm pretty sure that is on YouTube. And maybe that'd be a good thing to end with. I am so
Final
grateful.
Episode, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah,
that's us. I think if you put put last AOTS episode screensavers.
Yeah. The twist ending to the AOTS.
And it got taken down a few times, but maybe you'll find the right one.
Well, that's the thing is nobody really owns this. Well, actually, I guess Comcast technically owns it, right? But they don't care and they don't want it. We tried to buy episodes from them, and never were able to. Let me see if I can. I have a link from the Nerdist. Let me see if I can get to this. Yeah, here it is. I am gonna. Oh, video unavailable. This video contains content from G4, who has blocked it on copyright grounds.
You got
It's been pulled a couple
Find
times.
it on the Wayback Machine.
If I play it, they will take us down. So.
Oh, I see.
But yeah, that was fun, Patrick. Remember that? We went to a little coffee shop.
Great.
We strapped on our backpacks and flew out. I think I said something about hot dogs. I smell hot dogs. I don't know. I didn't watch Attack of the Show, but it was. Now Olivia Munn's a superstar. So there you go. Patrick Norton, bless you. So nice to see you again. Robert Heron, David
Leo,
Prager.
thank you so much.
Love you guys.
Pleasure.
And of course, my erstwhile son, Roger Chang. My nephew.
Sure.
It is great fun. It's funny how 20 years later, you still have the habits and the patterns of those.
Most people say I look remarkably unchanged for 20 years having
You have not aged one whit.
No
Not
gray
one
hair.
whit.
Well, I have a few strands, but most of the gray is on my facial hair.
It's great to see you all. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And we continue on. Episode 1001 next week. We do them every Sunday, 2 to 5 p.m. Pacific. That's 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern, 2100 UTC. As I mentioned, we stream on 7 different platforms, including YouTube and Twitch. And, of course, for our Club Twit members in the Discord, and I hope you can watch live. But if you can't, you can always download the shows from the website, twit.tv, including our very first episode. If you want to listen to that, because there's no video, twit.tv/twit1, no space, just twit1, the first episode. I think Twit 0 is also there. But this show will be available after the fact on the website, also on our YouTube channel. And there's video and audio available for you to subscribe to in your favorite podcast client. I hope you will. I hope you support us in our club, because that helps us keep doing these things. Twit.tv/clubtwit. And as I've said now for 1,000 episodes, for almost 20 years, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Another Twit is in the can. Bye, guys.
Amazing.